3,500-pound stock car run 120 miles per hour into an immovable object means a lot of bent sheet metal and a pretty good headache.
At Bristol, you learn your lesson the hard way. Hey, Bobby Allison, no talking back to the teacher. Jeff Bodine, a bit skeptical. And young Bobby Hillen appears to be headed back to the classroom, where next we discuss Newton's law of gravity. Now, this too looks to be a bit confusing, but simply put, what goes up must come down, and we put that to the test back in 1985 here at Bristol.
Watch how easy this thing takes off down the banking.
What goes up?
Get your notepads. The lesson continues next. ESPN, the world's leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speed World. Today from Bristol International Raceway, the Valleydale Meets 500 being brought to you by the heartbeat of America, today's Chevrolet. By Quaker State Motor Oil, the big Q stands for quality, always has, always will. By the Kodak Color Watch system for great film developing. And by Mr. Goodwrench. No one knows your GM car better than Mr. Goodwrench. No one. A beautiful Sunday afternoon as we are live from Bristol, Tennessee. 72 degrees and nice gentle breeze, excellent racing weather. And good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins. Welcome to Bristol International Raceway. And for those of you familiar with this racetrack, that's all you need to say. Bristol, a half mile, turns banks steeper than any other track on the Winston Cup Trail, and speeds in excess of 117 miles an hour. In the booth with me today, Ned Jarrett, and you've driven this track a couple of times, Ned, and it's one that's very demanding on the driver.
It is very demanding, Bob, no question about it. They go around here so fast. In fact, it's like trying to fly a jet fighter plane in the Astrodome. Or if you could imagine driving a car down your street. One block is about the length of each straightaway here at 140 miles an hour, and then try to make the left turn at the corner and then go back and make another left turn. That's how fast you get to the turns here at Bristol.
And it's also demanding on the crew chief. And also with us in the booth will be Gary Nelson, who's the head of research and development for Hendrick Racing. You have a pretty good record here, Gary. 8 out of 12 top 10 finishes, but it is a demanding track on the crew also.
Well, demanding definitely is an understatement for Bristol. The banks are so high, like you said, but not only are they steeply banked, they're rough. There's a lot of dips and bumps that make the suspension really take a pounding here. It's tough on a crew chief to try and make sure that car will last for 500 laps. Tough on the chassis, the drivers, everybody here is just under such a tremendous stress. Makes for a heck of a show, though.
We have a first-time pole winner for today's race, and for that story, let's go to Jerry Punch in the pit area.
Well, thank you, Bob. A lot of firsts out here, of course, on this track. A first-time pole for this young driver from Bartow, Florida, Rick Wilson. And, Rick, it's an interesting story. The car you came here and tested with was a Daytona 500 car. You ran laps under the track record, but you said, hey, fellas, don't bring that car to the track, bring a different one.
That's right. This car here that we're running here today is a car that we run at Rockingham, and it's a car that I really liked. The car really, drove good. The other car drove good, but this car just kind of felt a little bit better to me, and I thought it would be better here at Bristol. And it was a car that we crashed at Darlington real bad, so I really asked Tony and all the guys if they could possibly get this car ready for the race here at Bristol, and they did. They really worked hard. They had to put a new snout on it. They actually had to rebuild the car from the steering wheel forward, and they worked hard, and we brought it here, and it worked for us. It run under a track record and a new track record, so I was happy for it.
The Morgan McClure team, a hometown team, 15 miles away in Abington, Virginia. What he set on the track record here, set on the pole yesterday, a standing ovation from the hometown fans for Rick Wilson. Rick, a great run possibly today. Watch this Kodak car, picture it in Victory Lane maybe this afternoon. Let's go down pit road to Dick Berggren. Jerry, the tire battle between Goodyear and Hoosier has led to tires that stick better than ever before. And that's led to a number of interesting things, one of which is speeds are up here. In addition, tire temperatures are up. Both companies say tire temperatures indeed are close to the absolute limit. The increase in speed has also meant an increase in the amount of pressure that suspension components will take. Engineers calculate that as much as 9,200 pounds of downforce happens here at Bristol, more than at any other speedway. Suspension components are going to be tested more today than they have ever been tested before in Winston Cup history. Forget your favorite. He has got to finish to win today. From Pit Central, here's Larry Newber.
The field here at Bristol is qualified from top to bottom very close. How close?
Look at this. 64 hundredths of a second. That's about 2/3 of a second, exactly the difference from the fastest qualifier to the slowest qualifier here at Bristol. We also have the same phenomenon that we experienced at Darlington, in that the winner historically has come from inside the top 10 qualifiers. That means people like Harry Gant, Bill Elliott, Sterling Marlin, Lake Speed, and Neil Bonnet, the scourge of the early season of NASCAR, probably will not win today. Here are those top 10 qualifiers that Hoosier surprised. Rick Wilson, he's never won. And these 4 people. What that means is that perhaps here at Bristol again today, we could see a dream finally realized.
The largest crowd in the history of Bristol International Raceway is ready. The engines have been fired, and we'll be back to introduce to you the starting lineup for today's Valleydale Meets 500 in just a moment.
Pronto, the fastest growing name in auto parts today. Pronto, featuring quality auto parts at lower prices.
Speed. For some, it's like last year the Motorcraft team won 4 world championships with the same Motorcraft parts you can buy for your car. Motorcraft quality parts from Ford.
When you need to know about auto parts, ask the pro at Pronto.
The bright sunshine glistens down on the 32 cars that make up the field for today's Valleydale Meets 500. Here's a more specific look at the racetrack. It is 0.533 miles in length. The banking is at 36 degrees. The track is 70 feet wide. We'll be going 500 laps this afternoon, and they'll get about 200 laps out of a tank of fuel. Now, this next graphic will demonstrate to you what we call the neck tracks and the survival tracks. Neck tracks are referring to the amount of G-load that's on the neck of a driver as he drives around this course.
And there is a lot of it on his neck, Bob. In fact, most of them will wear a neck brace as well as a strap that holds their head in a relatively stayed position. In fact, our Dr. Jared Punch did a survey, and the drivers rated this track as the #1 as far as the strain on the neck and as far as survival here. We'll see some tongues hanging out after this race is over today.
Now here is the starting lineup for today's 500-lap race from Bristol International Raceway. On the pole with a new track record of 117.552 miles an hour, Rick Wilson in the #4 Kodak Phil Oldsmobile. Outside of row #1, from Charlotte, North Carolina, originally from Milwaukee, Alan Kowicki in the #7 Xerox Amoco winner Ford. In row #2, it's Jeff Bodine from Shillong, New York, and the #5 Levi Garrett Exxon AC Chevrolet. Outside of the second row, it's Dale Earnhardt from Mooresville, North Carolina, in the #3 Goodwrench Chevrolet. Going to row #3, Mark Martin in the Strollite Ford car #6, and Ken Schrader from Fenton, Missouri, driving the Folgers Coffee Exxon AC Chevrolet #25. The fourth row, it's Phil Parsons in the Crown Skull Classic Oldsmobile car #55, and Darrell Waltrip from Franklin, Tennessee, in the #17 Tide Exxon AC Chevrolet. In their fifth row, it'll be Terry Labonte from Thomasville, North Carolina, in car #11. Outside of the fifth row will be Ricky Rudd from Chesapeake, Virginia, in the #26 car. The sixth row has Brett Bodine in car #15 and Harry Gant driving car #33. The seventh row consists of Bill Elliott in the #9 machine. Outside will be Kyle Petty in car #21. The eighth row consists of Sterling Marlin in car #44 and Rusty Wallace in 27. Going to row #9, it's Richard Petty in 43 and Dave Marcus in 71. The 10th row, Davey Allison, car 28, and Brad Teague in 31. The 11th row, Bobby Allison in car #12 and Michael Waltrip in #30. Ken Bouchard in #10 and Derek Cope in 68 make up row #12. The 13th row has Dale Jarrett in #29 and Lake Speed in 83. The 14th row, Benny Parsons and Ernie Irvin. In the 15th row, it will be Neil Bonnet and Jimmy Means. And finally, in the 16th row, the two provisional starters. They did not qualify fast enough to make the field, but are added as provisionals. Buddy Baker in car #88 and Bobby Hillen Jr. in car #8. And we have a car that is stalled out there on the racetrack. That is Brett Bodine, whose machine is not running. Now he gets some fire in the car and begins to catch up with the rest of the field. Our in-car radios today from Rusty Wallace and Bobby Allison. Let's try to raise Rusty and get a comment from him before the race starts.
Okay, got plenty of room in here. We'll be right behind Mark Martin. 10-4.
Your conversation between Rusty and the crew. This is Bob Jenkins. Rusty, can you read me?
Yeah, sure can, Bob. Go ahead.
Rusty, you won your first race on this track. Not a particularly good starting position. What's the strategy?
Well, the car's running just fine. They're kind of messing up qualifying, and that's behind us now. The car's handling great. Go to the front, stay there, win the race. That's my strategy.
We'll be with you all afternoon, and good luck to you.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Our in-car camera today is carried by the Dale Jarrett Hardy's car as it goes around the speedway on the warm-up laps.
And 2 cars have been relegated to the back, Bob, because they didn't attend the drivers' meeting. Brad Teague in the Slender U Oldsmobile number 31 and Jimmy Means in the Eureka vacuum cleaner car number 52. They were also fined $100 besides the penalty of having to move to the rear of the field.
And we also will try to contact Bobby Allison here on the radio to see what his thoughts are before the race begins. Bobby, this is Bob Jenkins up in the ESPN booth. You copy?
Roger, I got you.
Bobby, you're not too close to the front. You got a lot of traffic to go through. What's your strategy here in the opening laps?
Well, here at Bristol, the biggest thing is to try to keep the car in one piece for a while.
Do you try to pass cars early? Do you sit back and watch?
That depends on how we are against the competition. If we can get them, we'll get them.
Well, you've got son Davey right ahead of you, so good luck to the both of you guys.
Thank you.
Dale Earnhardt in the number 3 Goodwrench car. He won the Grand National race here yesterday and has an excellent track record on this particular speedway, so he is certainly one of the favorites. But up front, Rick Wilson and Alan Kulwicki, 2 drivers who have never won a Winston Cup race before, and not since Daytona of 1983 when Ricky Rudd and Jeff Bodine were on the front row do we have a front row consisting of non-Winston Cup winners.
It'll be interesting to see if they can stay up there, Bob. Rick Wilson turned an awfully fast lap in qualifying, but we'll see what he can do now with all of the competition on his bumper.
Here comes the field out of corner number 4. The crowd stands and cheers. The green flag is out. The Valleydale Meets 500 is underway.
Boy, that Rick Wilson sure got a jump. Jeff Bodine also jumped Dale Earnhardt. So Jeff Bodine and Rick Wilson got a good start.
Through the first turn, the first lap without a problem. Rick Wilson is your leader. Kulwicki is second. Jeff Bodine third. Then Dale Earnhardt, Mark Martin, Ken Schrader, Darrell Waltrip, and the number 55 car of Phil Parsons. Ricky Rudd running to the high side of the racetrack, and Brett Bodine low in the number 15 car. Behind them, Bill Elliott in the number 9 Coors Melling Ford.
Brett Bodine was one of the fastest cars in practice here yesterday afternoon. The car looked awfully smooth, and Brett is a good short track driver, so he looks to do well here today.
Yeah, you know, Brett looked like he stalled on the warm-up lap, but I think what he did, he stopped to reposition his steering wheel. The steering wheel can come off, and you can reposition it as spline to get the spokes centered. Pretty important here at Bristol to know exactly where your steering wheel spokes are.
Racing in the middle stages of the pack, that's Sterling Marlin in car number 44 and Harry Gant right alongside. Dave Marcus in the blue Lifebuoy sponsored number 71 trails. Sterling Marlin looking for a good run here this weekend. He had a problem during qualifying, and that is really about the only reason why he is starting as far back as he is starting. The car was running well for him.
Yes, it was. He spun out on his second lap, and almost every car ran faster on their second lap in qualifying than they did on their first lap, and he spun on his second lap, so I think he would have been much further up front.
Rusty Wallace is 17th in car number 27. They're the leaders crossing the stripe once again and completing lap number 6. It's still Rick Wilson in car number 4 leading. Now the battle shaping up between Jeff Bodine and Alan Kulwicki. Bodine looked to the inside going into turn number 3. Could not make the pass, however. He stays in third position. It's a single file formation as the first 5 cars have pulled away from the rest of the field. Those 5 cars are Rick Wilson, Alan Kulwicki, Jeff Bodine, Dale Earnhardt, and the number 6 car of Mark Martin.
And running in 6th place is the car number 25 of Kenny Schrader, and they've dropped back a little bit. Waltrip has really been pounding on him, trying to move around, not hitting him too hard, but he's touching him a couple of times. He knows that the front 5 are getting away, and he doesn't want that to happen this early.
Yeah, that's how you can tell if someone is holding up a car, there'll be a gap ahead like there is here on Schrader. There's nobody in front of him, but there's a whole line of cars bumper to bumper right behind him. So obviously Darrell's car is quicker than Kenny's at this point.
Bill Parsons behind Darrell Waltrip. He had an excellent qualifying run, and then the Junior Johnson car number 11 trails Bill Parsons as they come off the second corner.
Labonte was one of the real strong cars in practice here yesterday afternoon as well. He was running very consistent laps, staying within about 10/100ths. He ran about 15 or 20 laps in a row. When you can do that on this racetrack, it means that your car is working. And also, Gary, it's interesting to see how many of the cars are able to stay low, even though they haven't run that many laps. But that's the fast way around this racetrack, and the cars seem to be working well.
Well, it is the fastest way to run low, but it's also the roughest. There's more, the bumps are a lot more severe on the low groove, and as the tires wear, it's harder and harder to stay on the low groove. You can see Jeff Bodine going in low, Dale Earnhardt going in low. All of them trying to stay low, and they're doing a good job so far.
Once again, the first 5 cars and then the interval back to the rest of the field, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and so on back, as it's by and large a single file formation up in turn number 2. Bill Elliott sideways, but no particular problem as we continue to watch the first 5 cars. Mark Martin, a surprise here, but he is another one of those short track drivers who has a lot of comment on short tracks and could do very well this afternoon. Larry Newber is in pit central, has been watching the Rick Wilson run.
Well, Bob, Ned, and Gary, this is somewhat of a surprise. I talked to Rick Wilson just before he got into the car. He anticipated the Hoosier tires, brand new at the beginning of the race, did not be as quick as the Goodyear. He absolutely anticipated dropping back to 4th or 5th position and riding there for perhaps the first 100 laps of the race. So this is a big surprise for him. He still thinks the part of this car will come after 20 or 30 laps under green flag conditions. So there's still a possibility that those Goodyear tires, which are still reasonably new, may go around Rick Wilson. But he has got to be shocked that he is leading here the first 10 laps of the race.
There's the number 44 car and the 26 machine. Sterling Marlin and Ricky Rudd side by side on the racetrack as they come down the straightaway. Also in that mix is Dave Marcus in 71. Ricky Rudd running the high groove on the half-mile racetrack here at Bristol. Now we're beginning to see Dale Earnhardt make a move on Jeff Bodine. He runs the high line as they go into the first and second corner. Earnhardt tries to pull alongside but cannot. The first 5 cars continue to run in by and large single file formation as we are 17 laps into this 500 lap race at Bristol International Raceway. We'll be back with more of our live coverage in just a moment.
Racing from the inside. No one covers it like Auto Week. Auto Week makes you an insider at the world's great races every week. In the pits, behind the scenes, in the cockpit, with columnists who race and win. Inside coverage of Formula cars, stockers, sports cars, just days after the race. Auto Week puts you inside the world's most exciting cars every week. Right behind the wheel, inside the whole automotive scene. Personalities, cars of the past, industry news. Let Auto Week make you an insider, too. Call 1-800-554-3000 to get Auto Week at the lowest price ever. Just $17.25 for 52 issues, only 33 cents a week. Save 25% off the basic rate. Get Auto Week today. Call 1-800-554-3000. Operators are standing by. Let Auto Week make you an insider.
The NHL's Cold War heats up. The battle for the Stanley Cup is underway with the divisional playoffs. The action continues tonight, live on ESPN.
Back at Bristol International Raceway, and we have a new leader. Dale Earnhardt has passed Rick Wilson and Alan Kulwicki to take the lead, and here's how it happened. It occurred up in the 3rd and 4th turns just a couple of laps ago.
As Alan Kulwicki was trying to move on the inside of the leader, Rick Wilson, they touch as they go into the turn. Alan Kulwicki hits his brakes, but not soon enough. He gets Rick Wilson crossways, and amazingly, it looks like he's going to go around, but he holds on to the car. Earnhardt just stays on the gas, goes by on the outside.
I don't think I've seen a more perfect example of driving than put on by Rick Wilson.
Oh, Dale Earnhardt, definitely. He stood on the gas. Everybody let off and hit the brakes. That's an example of Earnhardt's style. Everybody's letting off the gas. Earnhardt doesn't even phase him. He goes around Wilson on the outside. Everybody here's letting up. You can see them all on the brakes. There goes Dale all the way past to the lead.
Well, that's another subject that I talked specifically to Rick about just before I got into the car. He said, I feel I'm in a very good position to win the race today. I'm not going to make any silly moves, particularly in the first 100 laps. He said to me categorically, if somebody comes up alongside of me and wants to race, like right now, Darrell Waltrip, Mark Martin, here comes Ken Schrader, I'm going to let them go by, absolutely, in the first half of the race. I doubt that Rick Wilson ever saw the car coming up behind him when Dale Earnhardt slipped by. Now, another thing that Rick said he was going to do is that if he gets into trouble, he was not going to make a snap judgment and try and make up for the mistake right away. He was going to get out of the throttle, kind of regroup himself, and not try and make up immediately for his mistake. Because remember, Ned and Gary, 500 laps on this racetrack is 2,000 turns. And if you figure everybody's going to screw up at least 100% of the time, that's 50 laps. And there's Rick Wilson spinning. We also have a crash in turn 2.
Well, it's Jimmy Means who spun originally, and then for some reason, along came Rick Wilson, and he also lost control. There must be some oil up there.
Well, I think probably Rick Wilson slowed down, and maybe either Phil Parsons hit him from behind or the other way around. I think when they slowed Jimmy Means, something happened. His car just shot up to the outside of the retaining wall as if he blew a tire. He had a similar situation here yesterday in practice. He had a tire to blow, and he didn't hit the wall too hard, but his crew stayed here late to work on that race car to get it ready for the race today.
There's also another car involved, Ken Bouchard in the number 10 machine. His is to the infield in turn number 2. So actually 3 cars were involved in this, but Rick Wilson was able to keep going. Jimmy Means and Ken Bouchard are not able to continue at the moment.
Yeah, it looks like it was a pretty hard hit. Jimmy Means probably got the worst of it. I noticed he made a pit stop just a couple laps before. He obviously had a problem with his car. Went into the pits to check it out. They probably couldn't find it, but now they'll know when they get back to the shop. No, I shouldn't see any pit stops at this moment. I think that the field pretty much sorted out with Earnhardt as the leader. He was pulling away at this point.
Only 31 laps into the race, so unless it's absolutely necessary, we probably will not see pit stops, but Rick Wilson is coming in. Dick?
Well, this certainly was not the plan today. Rick Wilson's got a bashed in right front fender. The problem he's had, however, that's caused him to go from the front of the pack to the back is handling. The crew chief told me just moments before the accident that the car was loose. This is not a good place for a loose race car. Hopefully they'll be able to make some adjustments to fix that thing. Does the work on the front end. He's still in the pit area. There's no big rush here. He's not going to gain anything by rushing out. They're talking to him right now. No work at all being done on the car. Tony Glover, the crew chief, says, go ahead, and they're going to try it and see how that car is going to run.
Back out onto the racetrack he comes, and this is our isolation on Rick Wilson as Jimmy Means has already spun up in turn 2.
And Wilson apparently slows as he goes into the turn. Looks like he gets tapped just ever so slightly by Phil Parsons, who was running right behind him. Phil goes on, and of course that creates a big traffic jam behind Wilson as most of the field were behind them.
Boy, beautiful job of driving by Terry Labonte to miss him. He was right in all of that smoke, and he must have missed him just by inches.
So Wilson is back out onto the racetrack, but Jimmy Means' wreck car is still on the racetrack, and Ken Bouchard's car is also stalled in turn number 2.
Listen to the heartbeat.
The new Beretta.
Of America.
A sport coupe that prefers a curve to a straight line, with a special sport suspension to conform to roads that don't conform. And a price as uncommon as the car itself. Beretta. For people who appreciate the not so straight and narrow.
The heartbeat of America.
Beretta.
That's today, Chevrolet. Listen to the heartbeat.
Quaker State, the big Q stands for quality.
We engineer quality into every drop of Quaker State motor oil.
Only Quaker State has QSX, an advanced formula proven to run clean for unbeatable protection from wear and tear.
Before our oil's good enough for your car, we prove that it works in our car.
Quaker State quality. We don't just talk about it, we live by it.
Quaker State, the big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
The black mark there on the outside retaining wall in turn number 2 was put there by Jimmy Means just a few laps ago, and here is the crash that sent him into the wall. And again, speculation is that he cut a tire because the car just took off to the right and hit the wall rather hard, and then As everybody was trying to slow down behind Jimmy, Rick Wilson got in trouble.
And as he went into the turn and slowed, apparently seeing what was happening in front of him, he was tapped in the rear by Phil Parsons, car number 55, and sent Rick Wilson in a spin and a lot of smoke, which certainly blurred the vision of those drivers coming up. And as Gary Nelson mentioned, the car number 11 there did a beautiful job, Terry Labonte.
Let's go to Jerry Punch, Jeff Bodine on pit road.
Well, Jeff Bodine was black flagged by the NASCAR officials. That means he must come down pit road. They said he might be leaking some oil. Now Bodine has been signaling frantically inside the car. He took the window net down and took his hand and waved Waddell Wilson, the crew chief, over to the car and wanted to speak to him. Now Wilson puts the net back up there, changing 4 tires. They've added fuel to the car, and again, they're trying to get that netting resecured. They're looking beneath the car. They don't see any oil leak here. Waddell Wilson said he didn't know what the problem was, but NASCAR wanted him to come in and take a look.
Boy, it's hard to really tell what Jeff Bodine's problem is. Obviously, Jeff is trying to tell his crew. He took the window net down to get their attention, I'm sure. With the black flag, they decided to go ahead and change their tires. That's a smart move. You know, if you get black flag, go ahead and get your fuel in, get tires changed. You know you got to go to the back of the pack for the restart, but at least you got fresh tires and a full tank of gas.
So we're under our first caution period of the afternoon on lap number 34. You're watching live coverage of the Valleydale Meets 500 from Bristol International Raceway.
Off-road championships, one truck won more races than any truck in history. Chevy truck. Built to win.
The heartbeat of America. That's today's Chevy truck.
When you replace ordinary spark plugs with Bosch Platinum plugs, you may not notice the change immediately. The quicker starts, the smoother acceleration, the extra performance only pure Platinum delivers. So how long will it take you to notice the improvement Bosch Platinum plugs make? About that long.
Bosch Platinum spark plugs, available at Kmart and other fine auto parts stores.
Get set for head-on power, blinding speed, more passing, more scoring. The 50-yard indoor war returns. Arena football puts you up close where the action is right in your face. A brand new season kicks off when the New York Knights battle the Los Angeles Cobras. Live Saturday, April 30th, only on ESPN.
The field is in the backstretch. This time around, they'll be getting the green flag for restart of this race with 36 laps completed right now. They'll get the green on lap number 37. Here comes the field being led by Dale Earnhardt off of corner number 4. Green comes out, back to racing. It is Kowicki who is second, Mark Martin third, followed by Darrell Waltrip, Ken Schrader, Phil Parsons, Bill Elliott, and Sterling Marlin as they go down the backstretch once again and get sorted out in single file formation.
Earnhardt got himself a good jump on the restart.
Boy, he's established himself again, like always, as the car to beat here at Bristol.
Jeff Bodine made a pit stop, or was actually black flagged to come into the pit area during that most recent caution. He is back out on the racetrack, but of course has to restart from the tail of the field. And he is beginning to thread his way through the traffic. You can see there Rick Wilson in car number 4, the pole sitter, also trying to move up through the traffic. Jerry Punch is in the Jeff Bodine pit with an explanation of why Bodine was black flagged.
We're with Waddell Wilson, the crew chief. And Waddell, why did they black flag him to bring him in?
The car was leaking oil someplace. The car was not leaking at all. It was somebody else's car. And this has really penalized us. This is the last place you want to be behind.
Well, tough break for Jeff Bodine here at Bristol.
Gary, it would seem like the conversation between Waddell and the NASCAR inspector would be sort of like an argument between Billy Martin and an umpire.
Well, you're right. I've been into so many of those. You never win the argument, but you got to go out there and state your case. Obviously, Jeff Bodine's car, they brought him in the pits to look for an oil leak. They didn't see anything, but he still starts dead last. What a penalty.
Terry Labonte is having a problem. He's coming into the pit area. The car went slowly down the backstretch. Let's go to Dick Bergman for this stop by the Junior Johnson car.
Well, I'm going to guarantee you this is not a scheduled stop. The Junior Johnson team has 2 right side tires. They're also checking the left side tires. Labonte apparently has decided he's got something wrong with his rubber somewhere along the line. A tough break as the field goes by. Labonte goes a lap down.
A Junior Johnson car has won 21 of the 54 races that have been held here at Bristol International Raceway, but Labonte's chances of winning this afternoon have been set back dramatically by that unscheduled pit stop. He is down a lap.
Here's Dale Earnhardt beginning to pull away once again from Alan Kulwicki, who's running in second place. As a matter of fact, he's coming up on Terry Labonte, who's not too far in front of him, but Labonte is definitely not running up to speed, and that would make him 2 laps down if Earnhardt goes around him.
Well, you're right, Ned. Labonte came into the pits as one of the top 10 cars, changed 2 tires, and he did lose 1 lap, and now he's also lost a second lap. He still has problems.
Well, Larry Newber speculates on what might have gone wrong from Pit Central.
Well, it's difficult to assess what might have gone wrong with Jimmy Means, but I want to show you the margin of safety that both tire companies have engineered into the tires here. You've heard the word inner liner. Well, here's what it is. It's actually a tire inside the tire, and maybe the inner liner kept the situation from Jimmy Means from being more severe than what it was. We also understand that Terry Labonte considers that he had an equalization. What that means is that there was air leaking from the outer tire, or the tire that's meeting the surface of the racetrack, but the inner liner was okay, but makes this tire get very soft, makes the car run very rough. And Gary Nelson and Ned Jarrett, they're reasonably hard to handle when the tires are equalized, aren't they?
Well, they really are. You get such a vibration. It's tough enough on this racetrack when everything is running smooth.
But you know, an interesting thing about the inner liners here at Bristol, it is mandatory to have the inner liner only in the right front tire, and it's optional whether you want it in the right rear tire. Most of the drivers run the inner liner in both right side tires, but no inner liners on the left side. Some of them that are real brave don't even run one in the right rear.
We have a great battle for 6th place here. That's Ken Schrader on the outside in the 25 car and Bill Elliott in the Ford low in the number 9 machine. They go into the turn side by side. They've been running like this for the last several laps, neither willing to give an inch, and now Schrader with about a half a car length advantage, but again, Elliott pulls even in the corners.
Well, that's a good show, Bill Elliott and Ken Schrader, this early in the race. We're only 50 laps into the race, but we've all had a lot of position changing on into the pack.
Sterling Marlin's blue number 44 car also right behind Bill Elliott in the thick of things. Ken Schrader, one of those who has never won a Winston Cup race, looking for his first victory this afternoon.
Already has 2 poles this year, but not a race win.
Yeah, Ken Schrader, I'm really pulling for him. I like him. I think he's driving one of the best cars on the circuit, the Folgers car owned by Rick Hendrick, who's also happens to be my boss, but I do think Ken Schrader's going to win real soon.
Labonte is coming back into the pit area. We witnessed his problems out on the racetrack, and he's back in the pits, and it looks like they're going under the hood of the Budweiser Chevrolet.
So a tough break for Terry Labonte, and let's go to Jerry Punch.
Well, Terry Labonte's problems continue to be compounded here at Bristol. They have a steering problem on the car. The right front tire, apparently they're concerned the steering wheel is just not working to turn the car. It's awfully loose, and they have the hood up on the car. Pete Wright and Tim Brewer and Mike Hill, the crew, trying to find out what the problem is, possibly a broken control arm or bent control arm. And Labonte having an awful tough problem steering the car. They're going to bring it behind the wall and try to fix it.
So Labonte takes the Junior Johnson car behind the wall. They'll try to sort out the problems in that place. Now, as we watch some action on the racetrack, let's go back a few laps and catch some action that involved Davey Allison.
Well, Davey running right behind Sterling Marlin, and Kyle Petty tried to move on the inside, tapped Davey just a little bit, got him out of shape, which let Kyle drive right under him.
Well, that is good for Davey to be up that far in the pack from his 19th starting position.
His car was running very strong in the late afternoon practice yesterday. which is the Saturday afternoon practice, as we mentioned before here on ESPN, is the most important practice session that they have, and it was after the Budweiser 200 Busch Grand National race was run. The track was the nearest to its actual race conditions that they had since they had been here. Here's Kyle Petty moving up on the inside of Ken Schrader. His car was really one of those that was really working well here yesterday afternoon.
Kyle, of course, driving for the Wood Brothers, and this is the only racetrack on the Winston Cup circuit that the Wood Brothers have never won on.
But you can see the right rear tire on Kenny Schrader's car smoking a little bit in the turns. That's a pretty good indication that the car is loose, but it also shows that he's out of the groove. There's a sealer they put on the racetrack, and the higher up you get into the pressure sealer, and the tires will smoke more on that sealer than they will on the groove that is run by more of the cars where there is more rubber on the track.
All right, when we see that smoke coming off the tires, we have Darrell Waltrip in a hard crash in turn 3. Waltrip backs it into the wall and really took a shot. The car coming to a rest in the infield just at the entrance to the pit area, but Waltrip has really hit the wall hard.
Boy, that was a hard hit, Bob and Ned. I don't know what it was. Darrell just had a heck of a run going, and all of a sudden, all by himself, it looked like.
Well, you can see the damage to the rear end of the race car. That's the part of the car that took the hardest shot, but there's also damage to the front end of the car, the right front corner, and Waltrip now limping to the pit area. Will try to get the car in shape that he can continue to race, but boy, that was a significant contact. Well, let's go down to the pit area once again, and Jerry Punch, who is with Terry Labonte.
Waiting very patiently, Terry Labonte here in the Budweiser Chevrolet. And Terry, what happened out there? Something happened with the steering, possibly?
Well, something happened on the suspension on the right front. I think it broke the strut rod or something. I thought I had a flat tire at first, but we changed the tire, and that wasn't it. And we discovered something broke in the suspension.
Well, Terry Labonte, they're trying to get him out back on the racetrack to save some points. Meanwhile, pit stops are taking place on pit road.
And there are lots of pit stops being made, as a matter of fact. The leader, Dale Earnhardt, is in. And let's go to Dick Berggren, who is near the Alan Kulwicki pit.
And this is a very vocal pit. Alan Kulwicki is sitting in his car, pointing at a tire that Schrader's crew has left in his way. He wants that tire out so he can leave. This is a ragged pit stop. They just now got the left front gun, and there goes Kulwicki. Not the best pit stop, but he is out.
Boy, it's tough in those pits, especially on these short tracks. You've got guys changing 4 tires, some changing 2 tires. Darrell's car is sitting there crippled, and it's quite a traffic jam. I don't know what Darrell's problem could have been. The tires looked like they were up as he came on around after he hit the wall.
Well, they're taking it behind the wall, needless to say, to get the sheet metal straightened out on it and possibly return Darrell Waltrip to the action. But he is the cause of our second caution period in the Valleydale Meets 500 from Bristol International Raceway. Back in a moment.
Some days, it just doesn't pay to get out of bed. So when I need to get away from it all, nothing gets me there faster than Mercury outboard power. Quick starts, accelerations, and the sizzling top-end performance you'd expect from the world leader in marine power. No wonder. It's the choice of more top fishing pros than any other brand.
See the complete line at your Mercury outboard dealer. Mercury Marine, one of the companies of Brunswick Corporation, sharing the heritage of being #1.
Honey, game's gonna start soon.
I think I'll give the lawn a quick cut.
Good luck.
When you're long on grass and short on time, you need a mower with a Briggs & Stratton engine.
Dad, the pregame show's on!
It'll start quickly and work hard till the job's done.
Sure hope he makes it. Yes, there he is.
Briggs & Stratton, the power in power equipment.
Here's the easiest way to wash and wax your car. Have someone else wash and wax your car. Here's the easiest way you can wash and wax your car. The Zip Wax Hydro System from Turtle Wax. It's like having an automatic car wash in your driveway. The Hydro System powers away dirt and grime and leaves the kind of shine and protection Turtle Wax is famous for. The Zip Wax Hydro System from Turtle Wax. The easiest way you can wash and wax your car.
This is a car. This is a Big A Pro Auto Repair Shop that uses quality Big A parts to service your car. This is a Big A Auto Parts store where you can buy said parts to work on your car yourself. This is the Big A Road to Savings, during which you can get great deals at this and this for this and this one of my vacation slides. Of my twin brother.
Look for the Big A Road to Savings going on now.
The cleanup crew is still on the racetrack. However, they have moved away from the turn 4 area in which Darrell Waltrip's car came to a rest after taking a hard lick into the wall in the 4th turn. Let's go to Jerry Punch, who's with Darrell.
Every corner of this Tide Chevrolet is crumpled to some extent. The rear part of the car is shoved in about 1.5 feet, and the oil cooler is ruptured. But, Darrell, a pretty ominous beginning. What happened out there?
I don't really know. You know, I'd like to tell you I could pinpoint it, but I just went into 3rd turn. I hadn't been running very hard. I was kind of pacing myself, and the car just went around with me. I guess at this point, I just have to call it driver error.
You took a pretty hard lick out there. Are you okay?
I'm fine. I don't think the car's in too good a shape, though.
Well, Darrell Waltrip, a 10-time winner here. Take a look at this car. Not much left in this Tide Chevrolet. The front of the car being sheared away by hydraulic wrenches. The rear of the car shortened about 2.5 feet. Tough break for Darrell Waltrip.
And Darrell has one of the best records at Bristol International Raceway, but again, it appears as if his chances of winning are gone now because of that incident.
I doubt if they could really, you know, Darrell's won so many times here. He's such a good driver at this track. You know, he's saying driver error, but I bet when they get into the car, they'll see, you know, maybe a brake was locking. Maybe there was something oiled in on that part of the track. I can see the NASCAR crew spreading some oil dry. There's probably some other reason. I would say most likely he had something slick on the racetrack.
Darrell has not only won this race more times than anybody, but he is also the leader in all races here at Bristol. Let's go to Pit Central.
Well, Bob, a lot of people anticipate a large number of opportunities to make pit stops because there are always so many yellow flags here at Bristol. You can see that the big winner in all of this were some of the people that were not running up among the leaders just before the yellow flag. Dave Marcus has moved up. Buddy Baker has moved up. They were nowhere to be seen prior to the yellow flag. But Dale Earnhardt, who looked to be in control of this race, had a very bad pit stop. Alan Kowicki, as you can see, went in 2nd, came out in 10th position. By the way, Alan came with only 4 full-time employees again this weekend. Harry Gant made also a very significant jump out of 14th position all the way up to 4th. But again, it's part of the strategy of Bristol. Everybody figures there will be many opportunities to pit. So a lot of the people running from 15th position on back just chose to not take this opportunity to stop. They figure one will be coming up real soon. This will give them a chance to run up front. Dave Marcus likes to do that a lot. Get some PT, some prime time, those sponsors.
But one of the things I noticed that Jeff Bodine made a very smart move. He and his crew had been black flagged earlier. That meant they were almost at the tail end of the pack. But when this caution came out, they dove into the pits, got 2 tires, while everybody else was getting 4. That gave Jeff the advantage over Earnhardt. He's right in front of Earnhardt now, back about where he should have been before the black flag.
He will restart in 6th position. The leader of the race is Dave Marcus, with Buddy Baker running in 2nd position, then Michael Waltrip, Harry Gant, Kyle Petty, Jeff Bodine, and Dale Earnhardt. The cleanup continues at Bristol. We'll be right back.
Honda Accord has long been one of the standards by which other cars are measured. So why does Accord pale in comparison to Ford Taurus? Maybe it's because Taurus LX has so many quality features you can't get on Accord. Like a more powerful V6 engine, more passenger and trunk room, a better warranty, plus a lower price and cash back. So it's easy to see why Road and Track rated Taurus over Accord and why Taurus outsells Accord nationwide. You can see Taurus at your Florida and South Georgia Ford dealer.
Sally was an incredible girl, super wife, a great mother. We were always doing things together. We never talked about dying. When she did, I didn't know who to call, what to do. Fortunately, I called FT Blunt Company. They took care of everything. They were a friend when I really needed one.
Since 1917, FT Blunt Company has been and is a friend when you really need one.
ESPN Speed World today at Bristol International Raceway in Tennessee for the Valleydale Meets 500. A lot of slamming and banging going on here, and tonight we will have hockey and more slam-bang activity as the New York Islanders take on the New Jersey Devils once again. Boy, a great game last night. That young Sean Burke, the goaltender for the Devils, put on an outstanding performance. It was a great game last night, and it should be an equally as exciting game tonight at 8:30 Eastern Time, live here on ESPN, our road to the Stanley Cup. So we're still under yellow, and 70 laps have been completed. There's a lot of oil dry down on the racetrack, just about all over it. So it is taking a bit longer to clean up the racetrack. And we'll be back for the restart after these messages.
Listen to the heartbeat
Chevrolet Corsica LT.
of America.
Now you can enjoy sleeker aerodynamics in a Porsche 928S, a taut F41 sport suspension, electronic fuel injection, all for a price that lets you indulge yourself without denying your responsibilities.
The heartbeat of America.
Corsica LT.
That's today's Chevrolet.
Ricky Rudd talks about Quaker State with QSX.
If you're like me, you want your engine to perform. You want it to run clean, and you don't want sludge. That's why you and I both need Quaker State with QSX.
QSX keeps dirt particles in suspension, so they're trapped in your oil filter instead of sludging up your engine.
No other oil runs cleaner or fights sludge better. And the Quaker State I use in my car is the same oil you can buy right off the shelf for your car.
Quaker State, the big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
Speed, power, more speed. If it has a motor and goes fast, you'll see it on Speedway every Friday night at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN.
Back at Bristol International Raceway, where we're still under caution but should go green in just a few seconds here. One more lap. It's very noisy here at Bristol, not only for the spectators but also for the drivers. Here's a track pack. Track packs are brought to you by the Robert Bosch Corporation, makers of Bosch Platinum, the ultimate spark plug.
Everyone knows how noisy it is at a racetrack and how much trouble you have hearing, particularly here in the pits. You can't hear anything as the cars come by. See what I mean? Well, in the old days, the drivers had speakers mounted in their helmets. That's the only way they could hear their crews. They couldn't hear at all. But now, in the 80s, they've got these molded earpieces that help fit right in the ears and help them hear everything the crew chief says. The only problem with these, they block out so much noise, you may not be able to hear what's wrong with the engine if the engine starts to miss.
Here comes the field as the noise level really increases now with the drivers standing on the accelerators. We are back to racing on lap 73. Dave Marcus, your leader, car number 71. As it's three abreast racing now through the first and second corners. Everybody through it okay. However, as we'll watch Dale Earnhardt now move through the traffic high on the outside, passing heel bottom in the third and fourth turns. Here he comes off the straightaway. That's Ernie Irvin, the number 2 Kroger-sponsored, Pepsi-sponsored car ahead of him. He disposes of Ernie rather quickly and now sets his sights on Kyle Petty, who's just ahead.
And Bill, Neil Bonnet had just gone a lap down. Earnhardt passed him as they came to the start-finish line for the caution period, so he was fighting, trying to get his lap back, but he got down on the inside where that stay dry on the track was, and he just simply couldn't get traction, so he's dropping back.
5 cars running right together, and Earnhardt and Bodine are both catching up very quickly. Now 7 cars together.
Look at Dave Marcus. What a jump he got. Dave Marcus, Michael Walton, they're all taking off. Oh, and Buddy Baker.
Yeah, Buddy Baker has a problem. The car belching smoke as it came down the main straightaway. Buddy Baker is off the pace, dropping to the inside of the racetrack, and Buddy is going to be headed for pit road.
Frank for Buddy. He had to use one of his provisional starting spots here to get in the field. He just simply couldn't get it to going fast enough to make the field as tight as he was.
Ooh, Harry Gant almost lost it after being tapped by Kyle Petty coming off the second corner, but Harry saved it nicely and runs second.
Well, that is a tough pack right there. Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Bodine, 2 of the fastest cars on the racetrack, trying to work their way back to the front.
And Earnhardt now below Michael Waltrip. Here comes Jeff Bodine below Michael Waltrip on the backstretch. And now Earnhardt is in 4th position. And here's a replay of what happened coming out of the second corner. Watch Harry Gant almost lose it.
He gets tapped by Kyle Petty, and if anybody can bring it around, Harry Gant can. He and Dale Earnhardt are 2 of the best I have ever seen at bringing a car out of a sideways position.
There's one time Dale Earnhardt did let off the gas, fortunately for the rest of them.
Harry Gant now is running in second spot. That's Kyle Petty right behind in third. Fourth is Dale Earnhardt, and fifth is Jeff Bodine. The lead continues to be held by Dave Marcus, who has lengthened out his advantage a little bit on Harry Gant.
Lake Speed going a lap down.
He's been having a lot of problems, Gary. He was in and out the pits every lap during the caution period, and now he's going back in. So our winner from Darlington a couple of weeks ago now going behind the wall on the backstretch.
And let's go to Larry Newber in pit central.
Well, Bob, another person I talked to just before the race began was Leonard Wood of the paved Wood brothers. We're looking at Kyle Petty right now trying to put the heat on Harry Gant, doing a pretty good job at it. He told me they made a lot of changes overnight. He looked at me and grinned and said, Larry, I can't tell you exactly what it was. And I said, well, give you a hint. He said, well, it was chassis related. We're taking some chances, but Kyle is real confident about the changes that we've made. Obviously, he's also very comfortable with the changes they have made.
Kyle running very strong, as a matter of fact, in that third position right behind Harry Gant in car number 33. As we mentioned, the Wood brothers have never won at this racetrack.
You can get a good look at how the suspension travels as these cars go through the turns. Harry Gant and Kyle Petty, both, if you watch the tires in relation to the body, when they hit the bumps on the turns, the body is traveling 2 or 3 inches just because how big those bumps are.
Davey Allison is running a good race in car 28.
Well, he's actually beginning to drop back a little bit, Bob. He has been running on the inside of the track. A number of cars have moved by him on the outside. He's definitely not running as fast as he was earlier in the race. However, he still is in the lead lap.
There appears to be some kind of smoke coming from the car. Any speculation? Is it tire rub or is it something mechanical?
Boy, that's hard to say. You can see the smoke. The left rear tire looks like it's knocked over towards the inside. There may be something wrong with the rear suspension.
Jerry, any speculation?
Well, a number of the crews down here are watching the Davey Allison car. You know, that smoke is coming out right where the left side exhaust are. It's running from the left rear tire. So a lot of crews being awful careful. Whenever it's causing smoke, it's getting worse and worse each time by. So Davey Allison may have a potential problem. Let's go up pit road to Dick Berger. Dick?
Well, we have an unhappy Buddy Baker behind the wall. It was running so well. What happened?
Well, I hate it happened because, you know, we started provisional and the car was running speed the same as Earnhardt there, you know, right before the caution, and we were passing cars. And I hate it for Red Baron. I'd like to say hello to Danny Schiff and everybody up in Lake Norman. The car was running super good. It was about 10 laps after we had a restart. The car really started working. And I think we would have took the lead. The car was really doing good. I was proud of it.
And for sure, everybody home was proud of him. Meanwhile, Mark Martin is running better. The water temperature gauge is going down during the caution flag. It had gone up as high as 250 degrees. The crews petitioned NASCAR to speed up the pace car. Believe it or not, when these engines run too slow, they overheat. Mark Martin is now in better shape.
And he is in 10th position. Back in 11th is Bobby Allison. So it's a good run for Mark Martin. And there are some people here this afternoon that are saying this is Mark Martin's afternoon. He's a short track specialist, and he qualified very well in the Jack Roush car. And there is Bobby Allison, the Daytona 500 winner. And more bumping and banging has gone on that we have captured on replay for you. Watch Michael Waltrip and Mark Martin.
Waltrip gets a little high, and as Gary pointed out earlier, if you get your outside tires in that high groove where the loose sand and stuff has been pushed up there, boy, you can really lose traction in a hurry, and here Davey Allison has come in fifth.
And the hood is up, so that indicates it was something other probably than the tire rub.
Boy, tough break for the Haviland team. They looked like they had moved up really well in the pack. The smoke looked like it was tire smoke, but they're looking under the hood. It's hard to tell what the problem could be.
The leader is Dave Marcus in car number 71, the Lifebuoy sponsored machine. His advantage over second place Harry Gant is about 10 to 12 car lengths. In third is Dale Earnhardt. Fourth position is Kyle Petty. Fifth is Jeff Bodine. Sixth is Alan Kowicki. Then Bill Elliott, Phil Parsons, Brett Bodine, Mark Martin, Bobby Allison, Ken Schrader, Rusty Wallace, Rick Wilson, Sterling Marlin, and Richard Petty.
And the white car we saw going into the pits as the leaders went by there just a moment ago was Derek Cope in the Purelator Ford, having some sort of a problem making an unscheduled pit stop.
Yeah, there was considerable amount of smoke coming from the rear end of that race car also.
As you can see Dale Earnhardt driving on a low groove still. He's pulled away a little bit from the competition kind of running by himself at the moment. That's where the drivers like to be here at Bristol. It's so tight here, and there's so many laps, over 400 laps to go still. It's a good time to settle back and try and just stay out of trouble.
Dale Earnhardt is the defending champion of this race. As a matter of fact, he won both races here at Bristol last year, and he has won 4 out of the last 6 Winston Cup races on this particular track. But for right now, the guy who is showing the way is Dave Marcus. After 98 laps out of 500 in the Valleydale Meets 500, back in a moment.
Presenting a superbly engineered high-performance machine. One designed to outperform anything the competition has ever introduced, with exceptional starting power, smooth acceleration, and outstanding fuel efficiency. What do we call this masterpiece of engineering? Bosch Platinum, the ultimate spark plug with the advantages of pure platinum. You've never driven anything like it.
Available at Kmart and other fine auto parts stores.
What you doing? Me and Daddy are putting new brake shoes on his car. But cars don't wear shoes.
Brake shoes, honey. They stop the car.
We always use Guardian brake shoes, don't we, Dad?
Nothing better. I learned about Guardian from my dad.
Nobody makes brakes better than Guardian, and nobody makes it easier.
Can I have new Guardian shoes, too?
Safe stop start with Guardian brakes.
When it comes to making great wheels look their best, Eagle One doesn't miss a beat. Eagle One, a complete line of wheel and body care products for those who love cars as much as we do.
Back at Bristol International Raceway, where the lead is being held by Dave Marcus in the Lifebuoy Chevrolet. And as you can see, Chevy has won the last 4 of the 5 races held on this racetrack. However, Dave is being challenged by Harry Gant and Dale Earnhardt, as Earnhardt looks to the inside of Harry Gant going into turn number 3. Harry Gant's car washes out a little bit to the outside, and Dale Earnhardt takes over the 2nd spot.
Real close racing there. You know, Dave Marcus is still leading. He's been up front for quite a while, and they're just barely inching up on him, Earnhardt and Gant. I'm real proud of Dave Marcus running up front like that. Ivan Baldwin, his chief mechanic, has to be proud of him.
Let's go to Dick Berggren, who is with Davey Allison.
And Davey is standing in the back stretch watching the race. This is not where you planned to be for this event. What happened?
No, Dick, our Hamlin car Thunderbird was running really well. We'd moved up into the top 10 and felt really good about it. All of a sudden, we had an engine problem. I'm not sure exactly what really happened, but it's too bad to go on. It's putting too much oil out on the racetrack.
Well, Bristol is already taking its toll. Larry Newber in Pit Central. What's looking for you?
Well, Dick, remember at the top of the show how we explained that the winner historically
We have a crash in turn 2. Every time Larry
in turn 2.
Every time that Larry starts to do a report, it seems we have a crash, and this one involves Rick Wilson again. He tagged the outside wall coming off of corner number 2. The car is to the inside of the racetrack. Sorry about that, Larry. We'll get back to you in just a minute. I think the last time I went to you for a report, we had a crash, and now our 3rd caution period of the afternoon is upon us. Wilson's car is not moving toward the inside of the racetrack, just off of corner number 2 in the backstretch.
Well, a very tough break for a fellow who won his first pole position ever here in front of the hometown folks, as Jerry Punch pointed out earlier. The Morgan McClure team based about 15 miles from here in Abingdon, Virginia.
It's been a rough afternoon for Rick Wilson, who went in with such high hopes after a just outstanding qualifying performance, putting the car on the pole. Now we see that Dave Marcus is staying out on the racetrack, but Dale Earnhardt is coming in for a pit stop. So are several of the others, including Bobby Allison, Sterling Marlin, Bill Elliott, Mark Martin, Ricky Rudd, Rusty Wallace, Ken Schrader, Alan Kowicki, and others are in. And there goes Marcus to the pits. He is pitted on the backstretch.
Well, it's decision time for the crew chiefs. 4 tires, 2 tires, maybe just a little gas, or maybe, well, Dave Marcus he's pitted on a backstretch, so he had to go around to the backside to get into his pit area.
Well, Well, Dave Marcus is finally taking his pit stop. One good way to get up in the front is to not take pit stops. He's having a hard time, believe it or not, getting a drink of water. It's going to be a 4-tire change, which a lot of these competitors are doing. The backstretch pit, where Marcus is right now, is a very, very busy place. Harry Gant, who had been running second, was the first one to go in and out. Marcus is still here. It's a relatively long pit stop for him. 4-tire change for almost everybody up and down pit road. Finally, there goes Marcus.
So Dave goes back out on the racetrack, but of course loses the lead, and we didn't have an opportunity while he was leading to tell you of the fact that he has won 5 Winston Cup races during his career. His last win was back in 1982 at Richmond Fairgrounds Raceway, an event that we televised on ESPN. But Dave certainly is continuing to look strong. Now here is the in-car, Hardy's in-car camera view of Rick Wilson's spin and crash.
And Dale Jarrett sees the spin. He moves to the inside and almost got clipped as he came by. But Dale got close to the inside retaining wall and was able to miss Rick Wilson as he came down off the track.
Boy, tough day for Rick Wilson.
All right, now we go back down to Pit Central, and Larry, you'll be able to complete your report because there's very little chance of a crash during this caution.
As a matter of fact, I would bet next year's salary on it that won't happen. Certainly a very tough break for Rick Wilson. A comment about that. You know, many times when somebody qualifies in the pole, they know that they are fast, but that does not necessarily mean that they have this ultimate confidence that they are really good shape for the race. I will tell you that crew felt that it was an excellent condition for the race. They thought they had a better race car than qualifying car, so a big disappointment. Now to this board. You know, at the top of the show, we told you that historically the winner of this race comes from the top 10. Look at the plight of the top 10 starters in today's race. 2 of them, Darrell Waltrip and Terry Labonte, we've listed them out of race, but it's probably only going to be temporary. You know how the crews are magicians at getting these race cars back out onto the racetrack. But look at this, 18th, 10th, 9th, 15th, and 12th. There's not a current leader among them, although Earnhardt is certainly right there knocking at the board. On the contrary, however, some of the people who started below 10th are having good days. So maybe this will not be an historical race. This may not be traditional. Maybe we will have a winner from outside of the top 10 starters. And talking about Rick Wilson, right now Jerry is with that very disappointed and dejected crew. Jerry?
Talk about an emotional roller coaster. Tony Glover and the Kodak crew chief here in the pits of Rick Wilson. Tony, did Rick say what happened out there?
I think he blew a right rear tire. I'm not sure. He'd gotten the wall a lap before. We was getting ready to pit, and I think it blew a right rear tire out. And it's got pretty much damage to it right now. We'll have to just look at it and see what all's the matter with it. Hopefully we can get the Kodak Film Oldsmobile back out there for some more points. That's what we're looking for now. We definitely can't win the race now.
Well, from Tony Glover, the crew chief, to the driver who was in the car, let's go to Dick Bergen with Rick Wilson. Dick?
Well, we just talked to your crew chief, Rick. He wasn't sure what happened. Would you tell us what happened?
Well, I touched the wall coming off before. Me and Richard kind of got together, and I touched the wall, and the fender got to rubbing a little bit, and it cut the right rear down when I went into turn 1.
It looks pretty well beat up.
Well, we're going to fix it. You know, we was running real good, and first the race, the handling went away a little bit, so we just kind of laid back, and then Jimmy Means got in the wall. Somebody hit me in the rear end and spun me around, but we were coming back.
Well, these guys are going to have a lot of practice. They've worked at Darlington. They're going to try again here this afternoon to get a very beat-up race car back in the field.
Rick Wilson of Bartow, Florida, right now watches while the repairs are made on his car, and hopefully he can get back into competition. Here are the top 5. Bobby Hillin Jr. is the leader, followed by Harry Gant, Ricky Rudd, Dale Earnhardt is 4th, and Mark Martin is running in 5th.
Pronto, the fastest growing name in auto parts today. Pronto, featuring quality auto parts at lower prices.
Speed. For some, it's life. Last year, the Motorcraft team won 4 world championships with the same Motorcraft parts you can buy for your car. Motorcraft quality parts from Ford.
When you need to know about auto parts, ask the pro at Pronto.
Up here, you catch them with experience. And when you've got them where you want them, you head for the beer that goes down smooth as a mountain stream. Whoosh.
How are those horses doing?
What horses?
Head for the mountains of Bush beer.
Once
Oren gets on his Murray, you just can't pry him off. But don't you worry, our dinner reservations aren't till 9 anyway.
When you pay good money, you want a good mower. Murray mowers are as tough and dependable as they come. Cutting after cutting after cutting after cutting.
I believe he's leaving.
Maybe he's going to meet us at the restaurant. I bet you're right.
Nature can be devastating. The wood on your home needs protection. A water sealer waterproofs. Olympic Clear Wood Preservative does too. And Olympic gives you linseed oil that strengthens wood fibers. And additives to resist mildew. And preservatives to resist rot. Water sealers fade by comparison. Olympic, protecting wood for over half a century.
Buy Olympic Clear Wood Preservative through April 30th and get a $1.50 rebate from Olympic.
Dale Jarrett has taken the Hardee's Oldsmobile into the pit area on lap number 118. The reason, he was involved in an incident as the green flag dropped just a couple of laps ago. Apparently, one of the cars could not get going at full speed, and that created a chain reaction behind. Here it is.
Well, as they went into the first turn, it looked like maybe, was it Sterling Marlin's car, maybe that didn't take off, the car number 44, and that really bunched everybody up, and they began to bump and bang going into the turn. Somebody hit somebody else, and they all started spinning around.
Yeah, that's Sterling Marlin, who just couldn't get going. You can see Kyle Petty go inside, but that created a mess behind them, and Rusty Wallace also suffered some damage to his car, but it was Brett Bodine and Dale Jarrett that spun around down there in turn number 1.
Yeah, everybody was diving for that low groove, and there just wasn't enough room for 2 lines of cars to make 1 line in that short of a distance. Richard Petty came close to having another accident. He looks like he came through okay, though.
Let's go to Jerry Punch.
Talk about a never say die award. Take a look at the Darrell Waltrip Tide machine. The crew now have been working, Jeff Hammond and the crew working for about the past 45 minutes or so in this car, trying to get the car rebuilt. I mean, they're having to rebuild this car completely. There are parts everywhere missing from the rear of the car. Pieces of fender, rear oil cooler. Take a look at some of the parts we've got here on the car. I mean, these parts being cut away. Part of the rear bar. How about here? Look at the rear deck lid. You need a fender? How about a nice bright orange fender? And you wonder why these guys are working so hard. Well, how about a $2 million Winston Cup point fund? That's why these guys want to get back in the race. They've been working for about 45 minutes in this heat out here, trying to rebuild what's left of a Chevrolet Monte Carlo for Darrell Waltrip. Let's go to Pit Central and Larry Newber.
Oh, Jerry, you might wonder, with all this colliding that goes on during a race, do the drivers ever talk about it, either during, after, or before the race? Well, yes, they do. In the drivers' meeting, for instance, all these collisions were directly referred to by Dick Beatty when he stood up in front of the group and said, "Now, fellows, this is Bristol, and I don't want you to forget, if I could say anything to all of you, be polite, please, fellas." They brought a big round of laughter, but the laughter only lasted for about 10 seconds, and everybody knew how potentially serious the situations can grow here at Bristol.
So we have had a lot of damaged sheet metal so far. There is Rusty Wallace coming in. Dick Berggren reports.
Well, the right front corner of Rusty Wallace's car is damaged. It certainly looks like the toe-in is messed up on the car, as well as the cast of the right front tires, just not pointing anywhere near where the thing is supposed to point. Meanwhile, down pit road, Bill Elliott is also having work done to the front end of his car. See, this race is really not very far in. We're only at lap 120. We've already got many of the major teams in dire trouble. Rusty Wallace is one of those.
A little while ago, we were watching the work on the Darrell Waltrip car. They were concentrating on the back part of the race car, and that was the second time this weekend that they had a problem with the back part of a race car. The car they brought here was illegal by NASCAR standards.
They looked at the car underneath and determined that it was offset, according to the word that we got, about 3/4 of an inch, which does not meet the NASCAR specification, so they did have to either alter that car or get another one. There was some discussion as to which way it really went. They went to the truck, closed it up, and came out with a race car that looks exactly like that one. So we don't know if they traded or not. But anyway, they did have to go do some work on it.
Well, these guys have plenty of race cars. You know, you go to Darrell Waltrip's shop, there's 6 or 7 cars that look identical. Only the mechanics can really tell them apart. You know, that wreck that Darrell had was awful hard, especially to the back of the car. It's one of the safest kinds of wrecks for a driver because he's so confined in the seat for a rear collision where he has a headrest that won't allow him to have any neck injuries. His ribs are pretty well protected. So it's the safest type of wreck for a driver, but really hard on a car.
All right, so the work is going on the Darrell Walter car. Meanwhile, Bill Elliott goes back out on the racetrack, and you can see the damage that's been sustained by that car already. 121 laps into the Valleydale Meets 500. Back after this.
You know, I've been talking to you about Mazdas for some time now, but talking can't really explain how great Mazda cars drive. You're going to have to discover that for yourself. And to tempt you in that direction, Mazda's putting its money where its mouth is.
The Mazda Test Drive Challenge. If you test drive a Mazda car and buy one of these competitors' comparable models, Mazda will give you a $200 U.S. savings bond. But if you buy a Mazda, you'll get a $500 savings bond.
Now that's impressive.
Las Vegas Discount Golf and Tennis announces the grand opening of its new store across from the University Square Mall. Las Vegas Discount Golf and Tennis is first in quality with merchandise like Pro Kennex, Dunlop, Prince, Penn, Titleist, Spalding, and Ram, plus a huge selection of name brand sportswear. Las Vegas Discount Golf and Tennis is first in service. Restring your racket, regrip your clubs, and improve your game with a PGA Pro here to serve you. For the guaranteed best prices on golf and tennis wear, come to Las Vegas Discount Golf and Tennis.
It's time to get serious. Battle lines are drawn for the NHL's Cold War. ESPN presents the Stanley Cup playoffs, all live, all the way to the championship finals as teams take their shots at the defending champion Edmonton Oilers. The showdown heats up. The Stanley Cup playoffs, right here on ESPN.
The calm, collected, and cool Dale Earnhardt crew watching the activity from along pit road. We're under a caution because of an incident down in turn number 1, the 4th of the afternoon, and this is how it looked like from Dale Jarrett's in-car.
Well, the cars had slowed down in front of him. You can see the brakes had been put on by several, and Dale just ran up and tapped Brett Bodine in the rear, sent Brett spinning around, and of course Dale spun around himself, and as a result Dale's on the backstretch behind the wall as they work on the Hardee's Oldsmobile.
You know, if you wanted to make money at this racetrack this afternoon, I would have the concession on Oil Dry, on Speedy Dry. It is all over this racetrack. It's down the front stretch, it's in the turns, the back stretch. It's all over the place, indicating the fierce amount of competition and bumping and banging and mechanical problems we've had so far in this race.
A lot of it out there. The signal has been given for one more lap until a restart, and we should mention the fact that Terry Labonte is back on the racetrack. He spent a lot of time behind the wall as they repaired whatever damage was done to the suspension of the car that caused him to miss all of those laps, but he is back in the running now.
From last to first, Bobby Hillen Jr. started in 32nd position as a provisional in the Miller High Life AC Buick, but he is back, is in the lead at this point. Now, again, we have a replay of this crash as the green came out.
Well, that's the start. Dave Marcus in the Lifebuoy car in front of Dale Jarrett as they head down towards turn 1.
Seat, doesn't it? That's the way it was a few laps ago. Now we are back to live action, and the green has come out once again. Bobby Hillen Jr. from Midland, Texas leads with Harry Gant second. Third is Ricky Rudd. Fourth is Dale Earnhardt, and fifth is Brad Teague. I believe Teague is a lap car, so fifth would be Mark Martin.
And he's about to be passed, in fact, just tapped by Kyle Petty in car number 21. Earnhardt now making a move on Ricky Rudd.
To give you an idea how things shuffle around here, Bobby Hillen is the leader, but he started dead last. We're 127 laps into the race, and the last place car is now leading.
Of course, we should point out that he did not make a pit stop during this caution period.
But he has picked up some Winston Cup points as being the leader of the race. There are 16 cars on the lead lap. As now Harry Gant begins to put the pressure on Bobby Hillen Jr. Gant looking inside, coming off the fourth corner. And here is some action involving Mark Martin. Also Kyle Petty right there in the number 21 car. And here comes Jeff Bodine in the 5 yellow and white machine. This is the battle for 5th position. Look at Kyle Petty. He has that car moving well, and we also have a battle for second place here on the straightaway as we watch Bodine and Mark Martin. But here is the battle for second, and Dale Earnhardt is taking it away from Harry Gant as Gant's car goes to the outside in turns 1 and 2, and Dale Earnhardt sneaks to the inside. Now, we'll see how quickly, or maybe if at all, Dale Earnhardt can dispose of Bobby Hillin Jr.
Bobby is keeping his car right down on the bottom of the racetrack. It's going to be a little difficult for him to pass, even though Earnhardt's car appears to be faster than Hillin's. Hillin is using the racetrack to his advantage.
Now let's see, the little bump there also between Earnhardt and Bobby Hillin Jr. coming off of the 4th corner. Hillin will not give an inch, however, and maintains the top spot as Dale Earnhardt is having difficulty.
You can see Harry Gant, he keeps trying that high groove. Now Dale Earnhardt's going to try it also. They're going to establish a groove up there on the high side before long. It's not there yet. You can see the car of Earnhardt sliding as he tries the high groove. He didn't lose any ground, but he did put a little more rubber down. Later and later into the race, there'll be more and more passing done on the outside.
And Earnhardt goes in and puts the bumper to him one more time, but Hillin holding his own.
Just good action here with 134 laps completed. Boy, Hillin is staying right in there. Now Earnhardt looks outside, going into 3rd and 4th corners. He's going to try it on the high side, possibly. Nope, cannot get the job done.
He's trying to set him up. He's trying, well, he's just going to go on up there this time and try to make it work, and he does.
Yes, he does. Out of turn number 2 and down the backstretch, Dale Earnhardt assumes command of the race, and now here comes Harry Gant, who would like to move around Bobby Hillin Jr. and into second. Meanwhile, Jeff Bodine and Kyle Petty have caught this group, and we have a 5-car battle.
And Bodine and Petty got together on just coming off of the 4th turn. Petty was able to stay out in front of Jeff Bodine, but now Petty trying to make a high line around Harry Gant.
Boy, things happen fast here. What a fast group right there with Bobby Hillin holding his own in front of Harry Gant, Kyle Petty, and Jeff Bodine. All of them fighting for position, and Bobby Hillin leading that group.
Meanwhile, Earnhardt, because he has been able to move around this traffic, is pulling away just a little bit from second place Bobby Hillin Jr.
Well, Kyle Petty got high up in turn 4, and Jeff Bodine took advantage of it and moved right around him.
That high groove still doesn't have the rubber on it. It'll be interesting to see later in the race if anybody passing could take place for the lead on the high groove.
Now remember what happened to Jeff Bodine earlier in the race. He was black flagged, came in, changed 4 tires, and then the next opportunity, next time there was a caution, he only changed 2 tires, which allowed him to gain some positions on the track, and now he's right back in the battle.
Hillin now beginning to slip a little bit as he comes off the turn. He's burning his tires. Gant bumped him a little bit going into turn 1. He gets the nose up under it, but Hillin was able to pull away.
And it was obvious that Harry Gant got on the binders to avoid hitting him and spinning him that time. Good sportsmanlike gesture from Harry Gant.
But he sees Dale Earnhardt moving away out in clear running, and Gant wants to get around Hillin. He tries to move on the inside, but he's not going to be able to do it this time.
Probably one of the biggest topics in Winston Cup racing this year has been the tire war, the battle between Hoosiers and Goodyears. Here's 2 Hoosier cars, Harry Gant, Bobby Hillin, being led by a Goodyear car, Dale Earnhardt, and, well, now Jeff Bodine has come around Hillin. Jeff Bodine also on Goodyear.
So now Gant is moving into second position, and Jeff Bodine has gone to 3rd. 4th would be Kyle Petty as he battles with Bobby Hillin Jr. into turn number 1. Kyle Petty passes, and Bobby Hillin is dropping back, losing positions.
Dale Earnhardt has moved out to a little over a 2-second lead while they were battling back there for the second position.
The interval between 1st and 2nd. There's the leader, Dale Earnhardt.
Boy, Earnhardt just loves the lead. You can tell by his driving style. He wants to get to the front. You can almost tell by looking at his car that a smile comes on his face when he takes the lead.
Well, it's been a long time since Harry Gant visited Victory Lane in Winston Cup. He is second at the moment to this man, Dale Earnhardt. And once again, we'll show you an interval. There is Earnhardt, and here comes Harry Gant and Jeff Bodine, who is running 3rd.
And actually, Harry Gant has picked up just a little bit since we mentioned a moment ago that Earnhardt had moved out to a 2-second lead. Now it's down to 1 8/10 seconds, so he's beginning to gain a little bit only. maybe Dale Earnhardt doesn't have the fastest car. It is certainly fast right now, but maybe Gant, he is picking up a little.
Jeff Bodine started this race in third position, qualifying at 1:17.093, and he was well aware before the race that there was going to be some mixing it up out there.
You know, we tell ourselves we have to be careful out here. We say, take it easy, be calm, it's a long race. But when that guy pulls up next to you, or behind you, or underneath you, or if you see him half a straightaway ahead, you go after him. And you try to keep him behind you. The hard thing not to race hard here, or anywhere. It's hard not to go out there and race your competition. I mean, that's what our job is, right? To go fast, to keep them behind us. So it's really tough not to overdo it here at Bristol too early in the race.
Now, Jeff Bodine has been racing hard in the first 150 laps that has allowed him to move to third position. Here is a battle between the 26 car of Ricky Rudd and the 25 machine driven by Ken Schrader, and this would be for 7th spot.
And look who's in the thick of that battle, Richard Petty, who started way back in the field in the car number 43. He started 17th, but now he's up there battling for one of the top 10.
Yeah, Richard Petty got through that close wreck just during that last caution period. And I thought watching it that he was going to be involved, and I was saying, oh, no, not again for Richard, but he got through, and now he looks like a good contender.
Well, we mentioned ago that Harry Gant was gaining a little bit on Dale Earnhardt. Maybe Earnhardt heard us say that and said, well, I better pick the pace up a little bit because he's beginning to pull away.
Good side-by-side racing here between Rudd and Ken Schrader. Schrader to the inside and Rudd to the outside. There is Richard Petty and Sterling Marlin right behind, watching all of it. Ken Schrader makes a clean pass and moves into 8th position. Others involved in this pack include Bill Parsons and Rusty Wallace and Bobby Allison.
You know, during that wreck on that restart, Rusty Wallace ran into the back of Bobby Allison. It looked like both cars were heavily damaged, but now they're coming back into it. Both of them running together again in a different order. You know, the front of Rusty's car has a giant dent in the right front fender, and the back of Bobby Allison's car has a dent. So they've got matching dents on those cars.
Well, Richard Petty running in 10th position after having started 17th. There is the leader, Dale Earnhardt, who started the race in 4th spot. You're watching live coverage of Winston Cup racing on this Sunday afternoon from Bristol, Tennessee.
Quaker State, the big Q stands for quality.
We engineer quality into every drop of Quaker State motor oil. Only Quaker State has QSX, an advanced formula proven to run clean for unbeatable protection from wear and tear.
Before our oil's good enough for your car, we prove that it works in our car.
Quaker State quality. We don't just talk about it, we live by it.
Quaker State, the big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
To the heartbeat of America.
New Chevy Camaro. It's not hard to get one of the best-known cars on the street, especially when you can get $750 cash back on top of an already remarkable price. But you'll also get something that's tough to get these days. Noticed.
The heartbeat of America.
Camaro.
That's the day Chevrolet.
Bob Jenkins, Ned Jarrett, Gary Nelson, Dick Berggren, Jerry Punch, and Larry Newber. Did I get everybody? Back at Bristol International Raceway for the Valleydale Meets 500, and Dale Earnhardt leads the race over Harry Gant and Jeff Bodine. Here's a caution summary from our most recent caution period. We'll get to that in just a moment. We continue to watch Dale Earnhardt move smoothly out there on the racetrack. The interval between first and second now about 2.5 seconds. There is the caution summary. Our first caution was on lap 31 for a multi-car accident. It lasted 7 laps. There was an accident involving Darrell Waltrip on the 62nd lap. On the 110th lap, Rick Wilson spun and hit the wall, and then there was an incident on a restart from that on the 118th lap involving Sterling Marlin and Dale Jarrett and Brett Bodine. So you can see that we have had 4 caution periods so far in this 500 lap event. Let's go to Dick Berggren.
Well, if you wonder what wives do during the running of the race, this is Kathy Bodine, and I'm going to tell you what, she's as busy as her husband. She has a computer in front of her. She's pounding numbers in that computer, calculating tires. She's calculating fuel mileage. At the same time, she's got a scanner in her headset. She's listening to what other drivers are saying to their crews, as well as what her husband is saying to his crew. So she is a very, very busy lady here at the race.
How has that changed over the years, Ned? When you were running, what did Martha do during the course of an event?
She was in the scoring stand most of the time. She was scoring stand. Many of the wives do that, but many of them also do the scoring job on pit road, as we saw Kathy Bodine doing. So most of the wives are involved. In fact, that helps to make this very much a family sport, and I think that's one reason for the growth of it over the years.
But you know, that computer that Kathy was running is really quite sophisticated. It has some quite sophisticated software in it. It tracks all of the cars that she wants to push the button for. There's a button on there that represents Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Bodine, all of the cars they think will be contenders. Every time one of those cars goes by, she pushes the button for that car. That times every lap of every car she's looking. On the screen, she'll see the interval between Jeff and the leader, Jeff and the cars behind him. She has the fuel calculated, the tires, how long since the last pit stop. Everything is on the screen. It's become quite sophisticated.
We're watching this battle here between Phil Parsons and Bobby Allison. Now, that is Ricky Rudd in 12th position, Dave Marcus 13th. 14th is Bobby Allison in the 12 car as they come off the corner and battle to the finish line. Ricky Rudd and Dave Marcus. Marcus going to the high side now out of corner number 2, and Marcus has taken over 12th position. And Bobby Allison, ooh, getting a little squirrely there in turn 4.
He got into Ricky Rudd just a little bit and had to get on the binder and threw him out of shape.
Well, that was close for Bobby Allison. You can see all the dents in that poor Miller car. It's been hitting the back, the front, the right side. He's had a tough time already.
And we are several laps from the halfway point of this race, so you can imagine what the cars are going to look like when we finish up. Let's go to Larry Newber in pit central in just a moment. First of all, let's check up on that Bobby Allison story.
Bobby Allison running awfully well here at Bristol. You know, this track is pretty tough. We saw the graphic early on. The drivers labeled the Bristol as the toughest track on any of them on the neck as far as physically demanding on a driver. Well, Bobby Allison, no slouch, of course, but if he needs to get out of the car, if he gets tired, how about having someone like young Davey standing by here in his pits? Davey, of course, Rookie of the Year, 5 poles, 2 wins last year, and Davey just sort of sitting here relaxing, but he said, if Dad needs me, I'm ready to climb in that Miller Buick and take it for a few laps.
So we'll watch for that, a possible replacement for Bobby by son Davey. Now to pit central, Larry.
Well, Bob, something happened here in 1971, July 11th to be exact, that I want to ask Ned Jarrett about, because I'm sure that Ned was here. Charlie Glotzbach set the track record for a 500 lapper here at an average speed of better than 101 miles per hour. You know how he did it? Saw those caution flags we've seen already today. That entire race went cautionless, Ned. What did they do? Did they coast?
No, they ran hard, but I don't think they ran quite as aggressively, Larry, as they do today. I'll tell you, the way Winston Cup racing is today, the pressure that is on every driver and every team to perform makes them have to go hard every lap. Back then, you didn't have the technology in the cars that you have today, and you did have to sort of nurse them to some degree. You had to take it easy so that you know the car would be there at the end of the race. And so they just simply didn't race quite as hard as they do today.
And there has been a change in the configuration of the racetrack since those early races.
Yes, the banking was not as high then. I think it was about 24 degrees, similar to Charlotte and Atlanta. But now with the 36-degree banking, the track is much faster, but also, as Gary Nelson has pointed out several times, much tougher on the equipment.
And look at this. Is that a race car?
Well, not much, Bob. You know, Darrell Waltrip's crew, I'm very surprised they did a heck of a job to get that car back in the race. You know, looking at it on the camera when they were working on it, the deck lid, the trunk lid was laying on the ground. You know, obviously, they left the hood and the front fenders off, but I thought they were going to have to leave the back off. They got the back pretty well fixed, and that's what took the hardest part of the hit.
A gallant Darrell Waltrip returns to the action in what was only a shadow of his original car. Stay with us. We'll return in a moment.
Just how good are genuine GM parts?
good enough for Dale Earnhardt, three-time Winston Cup driving champion. And the same kind of quality that goes into the GM parts for his car goes into the GM parts for your car. So get the goods under your hood. Genuine GM parts from your General Motors dealer.
We have had another crash at Bristol as Alan Kowicki lost it coming off of corner number 4. There is his car against the wall right at the start-finish line. Sterling Marlin also spun, and he is headed the wrong way on the racetrack.
He's just trying to get the field slowed down so that he can stay in the lead lap, but I think some of the leaders have already passed him, and he wanted to get a place where he could get it turned around, and he finally does.
Now we're going to see wholesale pit stops again. Here's a replay.
As he came off of turn 4, Alan Kowicki lost control and got into the wall, and you can see him sliding down the front straightaway, stopping almost at the, in fact, exactly on the start-finish line.
Yeah, time for pit stops again. All the leaders in, all the other crews changing 4 tires, or most of the other crews changing 4 tires this time, because it looks like a chance for the teams to run long distances.
Rusty Wallace has gotten his car ready. He's back out there. So is Dale Earnhardt. Jeff Bodine rolls back out. So does Ken Schrader, Bobby Hillen Jr. And Dick is in Harry Gant's pit.
Well, I got to tell you, and I got to ask Gary Nelson, I don't remember seeing this. On a yellow flag, Harry Gant came in. He took 2 tires, went back out. He's back in again. He's got 2 more. Maybe this is the answer. His crew chief, Travis Carter, is shooting water at the radiator. Gant must be running hot.
It's hard to say. The normal thing to do here is to get 4 tires under caution.
But he's pitting on the backstretch, and he might have come in a little bit too quick, and they sensed that they were about to go a lap down, so they said, hey, we better go on back out and catch up to the field before we come back in. Alan Kowicki has gotten his car back into the pit area. You can see there's not much damage to the right side of the car, but there is quite a bit of damage to the left side.
And that's where the swarm of activity is by the pit crew as they go to work on the left side of the car. And Sterling Marlin was also involved in the incident. I don't know whether he hit anything or not, but in any case, he did spin and was headed in the wrong direction. But he is now going back out onto the racetrack. Ricky Rudd in number 26, the Quaker State Buick, is in for a pit stop. Now he begins to roll away. So our 5th caution period of the afternoon is being cleaned up. Alan Kowicki spinning off turn 4.
To some, it's routine maintenance. To others, it's an act of love. If you truly appreciate fine machinery, you protect it with Purolator filters.
Okay, listen up. Oakley here's filling in for Bob tonight. Good luck, kid.
For 3 years, Bill Oakley took orders.
Okay. Tonight we need to fit up the shelf plate, weld it out.
But tonight,
All the help we can get. Are you with me?
he's got to stand up and take charge.
You got to reach inside. You got to turn the tide. You are the power, the man of the hour. You got them on your side. You make America work.
Here's to you, Beechwood aged for that clean, crisp taste that makes Budweiser the king of beers. For all the guys who know it's not what you say, but what you do.
Why does the Monte Carlo of NASCAR champion Dale Earnhardt race on Goodyear Eagles exclusively? Because of the Goodyear Eagle contact patch and how it responds to the track. And why does Chevrolet choose Goodyear Eagle street radials for every new Monte Carlo SS? A major reason is the Goodyear Eagle contact patch, where the car ultimately responds to the road. Goodyear Eagles, because there really is a difference.
Back at Bristol. The Valleydale meets 500, and the green flag is out once again, and there's lots of action on the racetrack. Dale Earnhardt had the lead. However, now Jeff Bodine has taken command, and it appears as if Earnhardt may have a problem with that car. He nearly spun down in the second turn just a lap ago.
He was leading the race, coming up on Brent Bodine, who was a lap down, trying to move around him. But Earnhardt's car just, the back end brake loose as he goes into the turn. Rusty Wallace down on the inside of Jeff Bodine. They both get a little loose, and Wallace trying to take advantage of the situation, and he almost loses the Kodiak Pontiac, but he does keep it straight, but he drops way back in the pack.
Boy, it sure looks like there's oil on the track. You know, NASCAR's been looking for somebody leaking oil all along. There is obviously oil on the track, the way these cars have been sliding around.
It's a miracle that Rusty Wallace, he's due for the cool move of the race right there, because he really had a handful getting that thing straightened out. You can see all the cars that were going around him.
And so Jeff Bodine takes over the lead of this race, but the big battle is for second spot. Here we go back into the field just a little bit deeper and find Bill Elliott involved with Mark Martin, Bobby Allison, and the number 33 car of Harry Gant as they battle for position. That's Bobby Hillin Jr. in the 8 car instead of Bobby Allison as they battle for position. Here is the fight for second. Dale Earnhardt and a very good running Wood Brothers car driven by Kyle Petty.
And you can look at Dale Earnhardt's car. It almost appears like he's frowning right now. He's not leading. I bet you can almost, if you watch real closely, that car looks like it's smiling when he is in the lead. He's running a higher groove now. It looks like he's driving it a lot harder, moving it, the wheel quite a bit more. Let's watch how he looks later when he gets the lead.
Well, Earnhardt has about a half a straightaway to make up on Jeff Bodine. Jeff just took off and saw the advantage when Earnhardt got a little bit out of shape, and Rusty also got a little out of shape, and Jeff was in the right place at the right time to grab the lead. Let's go down to the pit area and the Dale Earnhardt crew.
Now, Carl and Richard Childers. Richard, what did Dale say about something on the racetrack out there?
Got oil all over the racetrack. We told NASCAR, but they said it ain't nothing they can do about it. I think we got plenty of speedy dry around here somewhere.
Well, Richard Childers visibly upset, and his driver, Earnhardt, is really fuming. He has called a couple of times and said, something's wrong, guys. It's oil all over turns 1 and 2, and I just can't drive it out here.
Just as Gary Nelson indicated, somebody is leaking oil and oiling down the racetrack. Let's go down to Dick Bergeron.
Well, usually when a driver drops out, we can talk to him. Not so with Alan Kulwicki. He's under his race car right now, trying to see what's wrong with it. He is the crew chief, the car owner. He does almost everything here, including drive this thing. It is really messed up, though. They just set the caster on this car with a jack. They put it underneath one of the rods that aligns the front end, and they jacked it up in the air. However, it was all for naught. The car will not start. It will not run.
Kind of reminds me of my go-kart days, guys, when I bought a go-kart and thought I wanted to be a race driver, and I didn't know how in the world to work on it or what it took to make the car run, but I wanted to be a race driver. I'm not comparing myself to Alan Kulwicki because he knows how to make a race car run, but he doesn't have the crew and the team that a lot of other Winston Cup teams do.
Maybe that's the best thing that ever happened to you, Bob, that it didn't work out.
I'm not so sure about that.
Maybe for the other competitors.
Look at the two abreast traffic here as Ken Schrader in the number 25 car is outside of Dave Marcus. Schrader, it seems, has been in traffic for most of the afternoon trying to move through it. And here's Ricky Rudd banging with Dave Marcus off of corner number 4. And there's Bobby Allison moving to the high side of Dave Marcus. And Terry Labonte, who is back in action. Well, Darrell Waltrip has gone back into the pit area, and they're looking at the rear end of that race car once again.
That might have been where the oil was coming from that was getting put down on the racetrack.
Right. He has an oil tank mounted in that area of the car. I think he did get black flagged. I think NASCAR may have found the culprit of the oil leak.
In any case, Bodine is now being challenged by Dale Earnhardt.
Earnhardt has caught him very quickly. Once he got it sorted out where he could run on the racetrack with that oil, he was able to pick it up in a hurry. He was back about almost 2 seconds, but you can see the distance there now, working on him for the lead.
Boy, it's tough out there. Those bumps and dips are just constant. The poor drivers, the cars, the shock absorbers, I guess, are the key here to get your spring and shock combination to where that car will ride over those bumps without being upset too badly, where if you hit too hard of a bump with too stiff of a spring or shock, the car tries to slide. It's a tough combination here because the banking makes the car want to travel, so if you get too weak, then it drags on the ground.
Earnhardt trying to catch up to Jeff Bodine. It's about a 2-car length advantage and a lead for Jeff Bodine. Let's go to pit central.
Bob, I got a comment that perhaps both Ned and Gary can play off of. Something that Neil Bonnet told me before this race started as we watched this battle for first place between Jeff Bodine and Dale Earnhardt heat up. You know, they applied sealer to this racetrack. There was an inordinate number of spinning yesterday. Apparently cars would break loose in the middle of the turn, losing control and crash for no reason. Now, you heard Darrell Waltrip earlier today say that's exactly what happened to him, as Kyle Petty goes to the high side and allows Harry Gant to make up some ground. Here's what Neil Bonnet told me, guys, earlier today. The sealer that is applied to this racetrack just after turn number 1 and turn number 3 is gone. It is worn through. The sealer gives the cars a very good fight as they enter the corners. There is Jeff Bodine and Dale Earnhardt in a close call here in the front stretch. But where the sealer has worn off in the middle of the corners, it's very, very slick. And that contributes to some of the spinning. That's what Neil thinks happened yesterday and what he thought might contribute to more spins today.
All right, Dale Earnhardt, as you saw there, got pinched by Derek Cope and lost some valuable ground, but he maintained second position.
That's one of the toughest spots there. It's a blind spot for the driver coming off the turn. Earnhardt wasn't up far enough for Derek Cope to see him and obviously didn't know he was there.
So Jeff Bodine now with a little bit of breathing room as Dale Earnhardt has a little bit of ground to make up, but he is doing it quickly, closing in once again on Jeff Bodine.
And Harry Gant, now that he has moved into third place around to Kyle Petty, has moved away from Kyle with ease, and it appears to be gaining a little bit on Dale Earnhardt. So Gant's car working very well here today.
So is Kyle Petty's. We've seen some drivers that have not particularly fared well in Winston Cup racing so far this year, namely Harry Gant and Kyle Petty, put on excellent performances as we are nearing the halfway point. 212 laps are in the book. And some good battling coming off of corner number 4 now. Involved in this, Ken Schrader once again in number 25. Bobby Allison is right behind him. Ricky Rudd is ahead of Ken Schrader. And then the 55 car of Phil Parsons also dicing for position. That's Bobby Hillen Jr. in number 8. He pulls alongside of Brett Bodine as the cars come off the corner. Brett Bodine's car is battered because of the incident down in turn number 1 in which he was knocked around by some other competitors, but nevertheless the car seems to be working quite well. You see some damage there in the left quarter panel.
But you can imagine watching that full-speed run on the in-car camera where Dale Jarrett hit the back of Brett Bodine. It jarred me out of my seat watching it here on the monitor. I can imagine how Brett feels at the moment.
Good battle among those cars as the leaders continue to circle the track out in front of them. But Dale Earnhardt once again has caught up to Jeff Bodine. He's narrowed that lead down to about 2 or 3 car lengths.
There it is. The interval between first and second, Jeff Bodine and Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah, it didn't take long after the little incident with Derek Cope where Dale Earnhardt lost maybe a second or so on Jeff Bodine. Now he's made it back up, so we'll have to see if Earnhardt goes on around Jeff or if he follows him. We'll see if the smile comes on Earnhardt's face.
They move around Dale Jarrett, who has come back out on the racetrack after extended repairs on the backstretch.
So the Hardee's Oldsmobile, driven by Dale Jarrett, returns to competition. Now Earnhardt really tightening in and challenging Jeff Bodine for the lead. Looking to the inside, coming off corner 4. Bodine holds him off.
Jeff is doing a good job of staying down on the inside, and that's where Earnhardt has been making most of his pass. However, when he did pass Bobby Hillen earlier, he moved to the outside of the racetrack, but Bodine is using the racetrack to hit the damage on him.
Well, it's been almost 2 years since Jeff Bodine won a Winston Cup race. His most recent victory was at Dover in May of 1986. He has 5 Winston Cup wins to his credit. He's the leader right now of the Valleydale Meets 500. We'll be back with more of our live coverage right after this.
Not everyone can relax luxuriously at the beach, but you can with fine furniture for your home from Design House Furniture. Come check out fabulous savings on teak, rosewood, leather, lacquer, and upholstered furniture. And while you're there, register to win a fun-filled cruise for 2 through the Caribbean. Airfare included. Furniture and fun from Design House. Stop in today. Sand optional. No purchase necessary.
Hi, I'm Bob Mess with Bay Transmissions. This month we're offering you a free pep check, which includes road test, leak check, and a pan examination, and we even check your transmission connections. Due to our overwhelming success, we're bringing back the 298 special. That's right, most American rear-wheel drive transmissions, just 298. Offering you top quality workmanship at reasonable prices has made us the best in the Bay. Just ask a friend.
Bay Transmissions, the best in the Bay. 621-9734.
Monday, two college powers look for a return trip to the College World Series. Sweet-swinging Robin Ventura leads top-ranked Oklahoma State against Arkansas. Monday night, live on the ESPN.
Back at Bristol, where the battle continues for the lead, Jeff Bodine and Dale Earnhardt are going at it. Bodine has been able to stave off the challenge, but Dale is certainly right there knocking on the door. Every lap, he closes in on the corners. It could depend upon the slower lap traffic. Meanwhile, there's some excellent racing going on for fifth position. It involves three drivers. Mark Martin moving to the inside of Bill Elliott, trying to take fifth away from Bill, but he holds on. And look who is also right there, Richard Petty in the number 43 car.
Richard has done a good job all day. He has stayed out of trouble, although he almost got into trouble a time or two, but has worked his way up in the top 10 and now is battling for a top 5 position. Elliott is currently the 5th place car.
And look at Mark Martin sneak to the inside once again of Bill Elliott out of turn number 2. Mark Martin having a good run, and that's Stroh's light car.
Yeah, we need to keep our eye on Mark Martin. You know, they were talking about it running hot under the caution periods and then cooling down under the green. It's in Mark Martin's best interest to run a lot of green laps here because they were talking temperatures around 250 degrees under caution. That's very marginal. Anything above 250, you start losing the water out of the cooling system, out of the radiator. If that happens, your day is going to be awful short.
So Bill Elliott, Mark Martin, and Richard Petty. Here we see once again Martin close in on Bill Elliott. A battle of Fords here. And the leaders are in traffic as they put a lap on Michael Waltrip once again and go to the high side to pass Benny Parsons. There are 13 cars on the lead lap at the 232 lap mark. Here's Larry.
Bob, remember a year ago, as we see here on our move to the inside of Jeff Bodine, they touch going around turn number 2. They both come out onto the backstretch, pointing in the right direction. I was just about to comment that it was a year ago here at Bristol when Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Bodine and Sterling Marlin were battling for the lead when they all came together, and it started one of the feuds of recent years in Winston Cup racing. I will tell you that nothing like that is going on at all this year. There has been no hint of any type of thing like that, and as a matter of fact, there was a great deal of conversation in the drivers' meeting this morning about everybody trying to be cautious and careful and polite to each other. Here it is on a replay. Dale Earnhardt moves underneath Jeff. Jeff moves down to try and protect his line. It appears to be a racing incident. Both of them do an excellent job of maintaining their speed, keeping the RPMs upright. Don't get sideways.
It was a great job of driving by both. It all comes out in the wash because nobody loses position, and they're still right together on the racetrack. Bodine and Earnhardt.
And Bob, while they have been doing that battling up there, Harry Gant, you can see him coming into the picture now, has run them down. So Harry Gant is going to make it a 3-car race here in just a moment in car number 33.
Well, you got to be pulling for Harry Gant. You know, he's had such a struggle the last several years. All the problems he's had, all the wrecks that he wasn't responsible for, but he was a victim of. Now it looks like he's having a real good run.
When you look at the performance of Harry Gant so far this year, you can see that he has either been involved in an accident or is running at the finish, but his finishes aren't all that great. His best finish of the year, 21st at Atlanta. He has been eliminated from competition 3 out of the first 5 races in the Winston Cup Series this year. So it is Jeff Bodine, Dale Earnhardt, and Harry Gant locked up in a battle for the lead.
Radio Shack put their $849 computer on sale for only $599. I just had to have it because it runs the same IBM PC software I use at the office. I got this complete system, including color monitor, for only $899. And it came with 7 programs in one, like word processing, budgeting. My wife uses it to run her catering business.
Homework, Dad.
They use it so much, I'm thinking of getting my own.
Save $250 on a Tandy 1000 SX, only $599 with software. Complete system only $899 at Radio Shack.
Your nearby CarQuest Auto Parts store isn't owned by some big corporation. It's owned by one of your neighbors who really cares about you. As trained, CarQuest qualified counter pros, we're here to make sure you get the right part at the right price. Even the right advice. There's over 2,000 stores like this one across the country with a whole world of parts backed up by the CarQuest coast-to-coast guarantee. CarQuest, America's auto parts giant, because real value and friendly professional help make CarQuest the right place to buy auto parts.
We're back at Bristol International Raceway on this Sunday afternoon. Live Winston Cup racing for you. Bobby Hillin Jr. has come in for a pit stop. They're changing the rubber on the right side of that car. And Jerry Punch is there.
Well, gentlemen, what some of the crews are worried about when the day began was the tire situation. Both Hoosiers and Goodyear battling for supremacy here in Winston Cup racing. Well, the longest period of green flag racing we had, and we are currently in, and an unscheduled pit stop for Sterling Marlin. This is Sterling Marlin's left rear tire. It is blistered. I mean blistered big time. The rubber is literally just peeled away, bubbled up and formed big blisters that come off of Sterling Marlin's car. So trouble possibly brewing for some of the drivers and teams here with tires.
Boy, that Goodyear tire with that blister was a very unusual looking blister. It's hard to say what causes something like that. Usually it's too much heat or the tire actually gripping the racetrack surface better than it sticks to the inner construction. It's hard to say. We'll have to see. The lead cars, Jeff Bodine and Dale Earnhardt, are both running on Goodyears. Harry Gant, third place, running on Hoosiers. If they start developing tire problems, then we know there's going to be a rash of problems. But we'll have to watch the lead cars and see what happens.
Well, let's go to Larry Newber for some follow-up now on this tire story.
Well, also keep in mind that Sterling Marlin is one of the drivers who has been a stalwart on Hoosiers for most of this year. We've been told a number of times that Bob Newton and the Hoosier people from up in Indiana have been very courteous to their teams. They are not signing any contracts. They are not forcing the teams to use their tires. They say, hey, you go to a racetrack, there goes Earnhardt trying the inside of Bodine again. There's traffic up ahead. It's Bobby Allison. Not quite enough room this time. After that Hoosier tire story, they all have the opportunity. They touch Bodine and Earnhardt. Boy, Gary Nelson, you're right, and they're very sideways together coming off of turn number 4. Bob Gary told me in a break, or told us all in a break a couple minutes ago, that every time you guys come to me, something's happened. And boy, Gary, you were right. Anyway, once again, back to the Hoosier Goodyear tire story, that Sterling is one of those people that you would expect if the tires were showing equal, he would have gone the Hoosier route. But he chose to go Goodyear's this week instead.
I think that was a case of Jeff Bodine saying, I am going to hold my line. Ain't no Dale Earnhardt or anybody going to take that spot away from me.
Great driving by Jeff Bodine. And, well, Dale Earnhardt trying to force the issue, trying to get up to the lead. You know how bad he wants to lead. Jeff Bodine just holding his position. The cars come together. That's kind of normal for Bristol here, especially for those two aggressive drivers, Jeff Bodine and Dale Earnhardt.
Bobby Allison was running in the 12th position. He now has gone one lap down during that little skirmish we saw on the racetrack. So now there are 11 cars on the lead lap, and Bill Elliott has moved up to 4th position and passed Kyle Petty.
And the next car that will be lapped, the driver who is in 11th position at the moment, is Rusty Wallace. So it's still Earnhardt and Jeff Bodine going at it. Harry Gant has dropped back just a little. He saw perhaps that little skirmish between Bodine and Earnhardt just a few minutes ago and said, okay, guys, battle it out, and I'll take over where you guys leave off. But both Bodine and Earnhardt were able to gather it in and stay at first and second. Now our mid-race recap brought to you by Napa. Jeff Bodine, the leader at the halfway point. He had led 61 of the 250 laps. The average speed was 79.932 miles an hour. And the leader, Bodine, had pitted on laps 33, 110, and 184. We had 5 caution periods, 38 laps. We had 6 leaders and 7 lead changes. As we have a caution, it looks like a back bumper is rolling down the front stretch. We'll continue with this mid-race recap. 32 cars started the race, 25 remained on the racetrack, and 12 cars were on the lead lap. We can add another caution period now because the caution is out once again. There's the bumper on the racetrack. Cars out of the race, Jimmy Means, Dale Jarrett, Davey Allison, Rick Wilson, our pole sitter, also Buddy Baker, Lake Speed, and Alan Kowicki. Any idea whose car the bumper is off of?
Looks like it might be off of Ken Schrader's car number 25. Of course, he's been in the thick of a big battle back there all afternoon long, and a lot of bumping going on. Here's Schrader now coming into the pits.
And Jeff Bodine, the leader, is also in, and Dick Berggren is there.
And I'm going to tell you, the ride of the day was Ken Schrader. Just as he came off the fourth turn in front of where Jeff Bodine is now pitting, he clipped the outside wall. He got the thing almost over, way up on two wheels. Meanwhile, Jeff Bodine is gone. Jerry punches at the other end of the pits. Jerry?
Well, Dale Earnhardt taking on 4 tires, too. His car, by virtue of where he pitted, very important spot. Maybe Gary Nelson can talk about that, but Earnhardt pitting almost on turn 1 here at the very end of the pits. Got back out on the track in front of Bodine, even though Bodine's crew was able to get the car off the jacks quicker.
Yeah, tough break for Bodine to get that pit so far down pit road. He is actually the first in the first pit stall entering pit road. Dale Earnhardt in the last pit stall leaving pit road. It looked to me like Jeff Bodine's pit stop was actually quicker than Earnhardt's, but the time or the end of pit road is the line. The first car to that line at the end of pit road is the one they score as the leader.
And talking about positioning in the pits, of course, they pit on both sides of the track here at Bristol. Half of the cars on the front straightaway, half on the back straightaway. Harry Gant is one of those drivers pitting on the back stretch. When the caution came out, they slowed down immediately. He dived into the pits on the back stretch, took on 4 new tires, was able to get out first, so Harry Gant will be the leader. A very good move on their part.
Could tell you what, you want to know how hard Schrader hit that wall? Look, this is wall inside the wheel. The wheel is dented all the way around. I'm going to tell you what, guys, I don't ever remember seeing anybody come that close to turning a car over and keeping it up on all 4 wheels. He hit the wall a ton.
But he's still out there on the racetrack, and there doesn't appear to be a whole lot of damage to the race car. He is without a bumper, however, and you can see 2 battered cars there side by side, Ken Schrader and also the 17 car of Darrell Waltrip. We've completed 258 laps out of 500 in the Valleydale Meets 500.
In every town in America, there's always one place that does a little bit better job of fixing your car. And it seems the things they all have in common are great mechanics, great service, and Napa parts.
Well, spring is here. And to make sure your car takes the change of seasons in perfect stride, stop by your Napa Auto Care Center now for our spring specials. Look for the sign of quality car care. Napa.
Racing on the water, just you and me. Running wild, running free. Run, 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 Kawasaki.
Jet Ski Watercraft by Kawasaki. The ultimate water pistol.
Fly across the water on a jumping jet. Kawasaki gets the good times wet. Fun, 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 Kawasaki.
See your local Kawasaki dealer today.
I did it! I did it!
Did what?
I just invented the wheel.
May I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Try these.
What are they?
Monroe Gasmatic Shocks. They'll give you the best ride ever. Guaranteed. Monroe Shocks and Struts are the next best thing to the wheel.
Guaranteed.
In riding, pal.
Hey! Yeah, great ride!
Looks like we won't have to reinvent the wheel for another, million years.
Hey, no wonder America rides Monroe!
We hope you're enjoying today's live telecast of the Valleydale Meets 500 Winston Cup race from Bristol International Raceway, being brought to you by Purolator, the first name in filters. For pure oil now and pure oil later, it's Purolator. By Budweiser, Beechwood Age, for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. And by Goodyear Eagle Tires. Goodyear, because there really is a difference. The green flag comes out just as we rejoin the action on lap number 262. The leader is Harry Gant. Second is Dale Earnhardt. Third, Jeff Bodine. Fourth is Bill Elliott. And in 5th position is the number 27 car of Rusty Wallace.
And apparently Richard Petty went a lap down on the caution. He's one of those cars that's hitting on the backstretch. It didn't work quite as well for him as it did for Harry Gant, and he was battling for 5th not too long ago, and now he finds himself a lap down.
That's a real high-risk thing to pit on the backstretch as soon as you get the caution. You almost need to be the leader if you're going to try to change 4 tires and get out without losing a lap. Harry Gant just barely made it without losing a lap. Richard Petty apparently got caught.
Harry Gant showing the way over Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Bodine. They're passing Ken Schrader, who lost a bumper and got up on the wall coming off of corner number 4, bringing out the most recent caution period. That car obviously is suffering because of that incident.
Well, you know, Dick Berggren was showing us that tire with the pieces of the concrete embedded into the bead of the tires. That car hit the wall so hard, I can imagine it's a handful to drive right now. Everything under this car, the suspension has to be bent.
Well, our spotters indicate, look at this traffic jam. This looks like the LA freeway during drive time. Just a whole bunch of bumping and banging going on, 2 abreast, sometimes 3 abreast racing. Schrader is involved, so is Richard Petty, Sterling Marlin, Kyle Petty, Bobby Hillen, Mark Martin, Ricky Rudd, Rusty Wallace, and Terry Labonte, all running right together.
What has happened is come up on Ken Schrader, who is running slow, and he's running in the correct position down on the low side of the racetrack, but they come up on him, and they really bunch up together. Some tries to go the outside, some tries to go the inside, but he's holding the inside where he needs to be.
Yeah, they were still jockeying for position so early after the restart that they weren't ready for a lap car. Let's go to Dick Berggren in the pits.
Well, I'm with Bill Parsons in the pits. They've just had the car jacked up, working on the clutch. Right now, they appear to have the clutch working because the car is stuck in gear. And they can't move it. They've been rocking it back and forth, and they can't get the car to move at all. Parsons has been up as high as 3rd position today. This has been one of his better runs of 1988. Will not be his day, though. Clutch and transmission at the same time.
Yeah, we were noticing earlier in the race that Bill was having an excellent run. However, mechanical problems have forced him to the pit area. Back out on the racetrack, it's now a 4-car battle, and Bill Elliott is right there in the thick of things. In the red number 9, he's right behind Jeff Bodine, Dale Earnhardt, and the leader, Harry Gant. 3 Chevys and a Ford. And now we go back and pick up on this other battle. That's a side-by-side contest as Rudd and Hillen and Rusty Wallace and Terry Labonte and Dave Marcus go at it.
Of course, Terry Labonte is many laps down. Dave Marcus is a couple of laps down as well. But here's trouble on the front straightaway. It is Brad Teague in car number 31.
And Benny Parsons had to stand on the brakes to avoid. I believe he did, but Brad Teague spins. The left front tire is flat on that car, and the machine has come to a rest right at the end of the front straightaway.
Been a lot of action on the front straightaway today. That turn 4 must be awful slick.
Brad is one of the hometown drivers. He hails from Johnson City, Tennessee, which is just down the road, a few miles from Bristol International Raceway, and trying to put on a good performance for his hometown fans.
Looks like the leaders have decided to stay out. You know, they just made a stop not too long ago, and after so many cautions, caution after caution, you know if you're the leader and you pit, there's going to be a lot of cars that don't pit, and that puts you behind them, and you have to work your way back through the traffic. So if you are the leader, sometimes you stay out on a deal like this, and everybody kind of follows your lead, and they will all stay out.
All right, let's catch up on some of the activity on the racetrack among the leaders by going to Pit Central. Here's Larry.
Well, Bob, the leaderboard is behind me. I would like to make one comment before we go to that. So much has been written and said about Dale Earnhardt and his aggressive driving, particularly in the last year. We alluded to the Bristol situation of 1987. Well, I'd like to point out one thing. He ran underneath Jeff Bodine for about 20 laps there. They were side by side. There were at least 4 moments when we saw on the monitor all Dale had to do was stay in the throttle and Jeff would have been taken out of the race. And Dale gave him a lot of room, so I just wanted to point that out. Here's the leaderboard behind us. Rick Wilson, of course, who started this race on the pole, limping around the racetrack, basically out of this race. But here is the interesting point that we have made here before, races here on ESPN, that usually the winner of the race is the man who is able to stay in the top 10 all race long. Jeff Bodine has been able to do so. Dale Earnhardt has been able to do so. Mark Martin, I really like the race that he is running. I predict that this man is headed for at least a top 5 finish today. Now we drop down outside of the top 10 starters of this race. Remember that traditionally, historically, the winner does not come from outside of 10. But Harry Gant looks very strong, and I agree with Ned Jarrett. There's a good possibility that Harry Gant is perhaps on the road to breaking that jinx that has affected him for the past 3 or 4 seasons. You can see the respective other top runners in this race, but the ones we pointed out are the ones who appear to be at this point, Bob, Ned, and Gary, in the best position to win this contest. And boy, it's an endurance contest here at Bristol.
Yeah, we're just a little past the halfway mark, and still a lot of laps to run and a lot of things that can happen.
We've had a driver change in one of the cars that's been running in the top 10. Kyle Petty has gotten out of the Citgo Ford number 21, and Morgan Shepherd has gotten in that car. Morgan was standing by here today to perhaps relief drive for Neil Bonnet, but now he's going into the Kyle Petty car. Now, Morgan is not quite as tall. I expect Kyle is some 7 or 8 inches taller than Morgan Shepherd, but maybe he'll fit in that car.
Well, that's going to take a lot of padding or pillows or something.
So Brad Teague's car is being moved off the racetrack, and we should be going back to green in just a few laps. You know, a flag-to-flag victory here at Bristol is sort of a rare occurrence, but there was one back in 1973, and that's the subject of our Winston Cup replay. This Winston Cup replay is brought to you by Purolator, the first name in filters for Pure Oil now, and Pure Oil later, it's Purolator.
The Southeastern 500 was more than just another race. Hale Yarborough won the pole and led every lap in Junior Johnson's Chevy. It marked only the second time in Grand National history that a driver led from flag to flag in a major event. And it was the start of a dynasty for two of the most prominent figures in NASCAR today.
Well, there'll be no flag-to-flag victory today. We've already had 8 leaders among 7 lead changes, and we'll be right back for the restart.
To some, it's routine maintenance. To others, it's an act of love. If you truly appreciate fine machinery, you protect it with Purolator filters.
People are always saying to me, Jacko, relax. But tell me this, if yours really was the longest lasting battery you could buy and nobody knew it, would you be calm? I think not.
Man has always been fascinated with speed. But in a sport where there is no margin for error, winning is more than a quest for speed. It's a measure of skill, a test of guts. And though NASCAR has changed through the decades, its spirit still rests on what men who race have always known. It's not just the machine, it's the man who drives it. We're proud to be part of this great sport. Busch, the official beer of NASCAR.
The Sports Car Club of America puts you in on all the action at top road race events like Trans Am and Formula One. Become a trained and licensed timer, scorer, starter, technical inspector, or member of the flagging and communications team. Call 1-800-255-5550 for membership information. Stop watching, start racing with the SCCA. Call 1-800-255-5550.
Bristol, I'm on the backstretch with Kyle. Welcome back to Bristol. I'm on the backstretch of this racetrack with Kyle Petty, who's dropped out of the race. Morgan Shepherd's in his car. Kyle, why did you drop out?
I just felt sick. From about 200 laps on, I felt like I was going to just get sick on my stomach any minute. And the car was running so good, I felt like we had a shot at doing good and winning the race. And I was holding them back on this deal, so I felt like they needed to put somebody in it.
Well, Dale Jarrett just spun on the backstretch here. Kyle Petty not feeling too well, sitting here on a pile of tires. His wife's trying to help him out.
I'll tell you, Dale Jarrett did an outstanding pirouette over there in turn number 2. He spun around, I think, maybe 2 complete times and kept it off the wall.
It looks like it, and of course Dale has replaced Michael Waltrip in the Country Time Lemonade car number 30. And let's watch it as he goes around. Kenny Schrader, he had just passed him, and Dale goes all the way around one time. Here he goes one more time. That'll make you dizzy.
I guess.
but this Bristol track is tough. You know, the one time I was working here with a driver, and he was the leader of the race. We were going on and on in the race, leading the race, and then the caution came out, and I said, okay, come on in the pits for a pit stop. And he went right on by pit road, flat out. And I called him on the radio. I said, why didn't you come in the pit? He said, I'm going to catch the leader. I said, you are the leader. You'll never get caught up. He said, oh, I just got dizzy out here going so long.
Well, I'll tell you, you are very, on the straightaways, a very short time here, as we indicated. It's mostly corner to corner here at Bristol. So we're cautioned once again because of the Dale Jarrett spin. So another break. We'll be right back.
Not everyone can relax luxuriously at the beach, but you can with fine furniture for your home from Design House Furniture. Come check out fabulous savings on teak, rosewood, leather, lacquer, and upholstered furniture. And while you're there, register to win a fun-filled cruise for two through the Caribbean. Airfare included. Furniture and fun from Design House. Stop in today. Sand optional. No purchase necessary.
You know, I've been talking to you about Mazdas for some time now, but talking can't really explain how great Mazda cars drive. You're going to have to discover that for yourself. And to tempt you in that direction, Mazda's putting its money where its mouth is.
The Mazda Test Drive Challenge. If you test drive a Mazda car and buy one of these competitors' comparable models, Mazda will give you a $200 U.S. savings bond. But if you buy a Mazda, you'll get a $500 savings bond.
Now that's impressive.
ESPN's April showers you with big events. Follow all the NHL Stanley Cup playoff action live and find out who your favorite team picks up in the NFL Draft. Live for the first time on a Sunday. ESPN's April picks up the pace with high-speed NASCAR excitement and major Kentucky Derby tune-ups, plus the Bausch & Lomb Championships and the season premiere of Arena Football. All in April on ESPN.
Flag is out once again, and the Valleydale meets 500 up to race speed. Harry Gant leads them down the backstretch over Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Bodine, Bill Elliott, and then comes Mark Martin. After Martin, running in 6th position is Ricky Rudd, 7th is Rusty Wallace, and in 8th position is the number 21 car. That, of course, is Morgan car normally assigned to Kyle Petty, but being driven in relief by Morgan Shepherd. Then a lap down in 9th position is Richard Petty. 10th, also a lap down, is Bobby Allison. 11th is Brett Bodine. 12th is Ken Schrader. 13th is Bobby Hillen Jr. 14th is Dave Marcus, 3 laps down. And we have a spin here on the front stretch. Ernie Irvin and Ken Bouchard are involved in a wall banger. Both of the cars hitting the inside wall off of turn number 4. And the race back to the yellow once again will be won by Harry Gant. Well, we can hardly run more than 10 laps without another caution. And here's a replay of what happened as Ken Bouchard limps away.
It looks like that the number 2 had blown a tire or something and got into the outside wall and then came down across the track in front of Ken Bouchard. Both of those rookie drivers running for the Champion Spark Plug Series rookie honors this year on the Winston Cup circuit. And he has hit the wall very hard. That's Ernie Irvin's car.
Yeah, the windshield has been popped out of that car. We do see movement in the cockpit, although the ambulance is right there on the scene to check on the physical condition of Ernie Irvin. It's his second accident of the weekend. He also hit the wall during a practice period on Friday and brought out his backup car to qualify, and now he hits the wall hard here on the main straightaway.
Yeah, you can see him moving in the car. He seems to be all right. You notice the window net there that they took down. That's held up with 2 seatbelt latches, just like a passenger car would have. The window nets used to come down on a hard hit like that. NASCAR solved that problem by putting seatbelt latches into the window net and welding the mate to the seatbelt up into the roll cage there.
There is Ernie climbing out of the car. Obviously, he is okay. We have a couple of cars that are pitting, including Richard Petty on the backstretch. Rusty Wallace has made a stop here along the front straightaway. Dick Berggren will report.
Well, Richard Petty is pitting on the backstretch. His engine is running. Unfortunately, the car behind him, Waltrip's car, is not running. Interestingly enough, Petty was the one that they were worried about today. In terms of his physical health, he has suffered from the flu all week, yet it is he who remains behind the wheel, while his son Kyle exited the automobile.
So Petty now pulls out back onto the racetrack as the number 30 Country Time Lemonade car, being driven now by Dale Jarrett, also moves out on the racetrack. Let's go down for a report on Ernie Irvin.
Well, first of all, Ernie, are you okay?
Yeah, I am.
What happened out there?
Blew a right front tire and just went right in the fence.
Have you ever hit that hard before? You took a heck of a lick.
No, I sure haven't. We blew a tire in practice and hit the fence with one of our other cars, and I thought that was a hard hit, but there's a lot of it.
Well, a little bit of indoctrination here at Bristol for Ernie Irvin, second race car of the weekend for this young rookie driver.
So just as Ned speculated, there was a tire problem sending Ernie into the outside retaining wall. Back with more from Bristol International Raceway.
Okay, so you love your car. Whoa, you're not going inside yet. The tires, the four round things underneath. There you go. Now, see that Armor All protected? Wipe some of that stuff on the tires and bumpers. Okay, now get in the car and do the dash and the seats. You can do this. This is not rocket science. Now, look at your car. Now go in the house and tell them how hard you worked. Go ahead. They don't know about Armor All. They'll buy it.
Every Ferrari 328 and every Ferrari Testarossa that comes to America comes on Goodyear Eagles. And only on Goodyear Eagles. Why? Because Mr. Ferrari wants it that way. Goodyear Eagles, Ferrari's choice as America's best tires.
Still under caution here at Bristol, Gary Nelson mentioned a few laps ago how important springs and shock absorbers are on this racetrack because it is rough in some locations. And that brings up the subject of spring ratings. And that is the subject of this week's Quick Fact. Facts are brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality, always has, always will.
Throughout the year, you hear us talking about coil springs, soft springs like 200-pound springs or hard springs like a 5,000-pound spring. Well, what's the difference? What does that mean? Well, the weight, like a 200-pound spring, means it takes 200 pounds to compress that spring 1 inch. Well, how do you know that weight? Well, this thing right here, it's a spring rater. You put a coil spring inside, you twist it down, and there's a gauge here that shows you how many pounds you have to twist to compress that spring 1 inch. A soft spring, like a 200-pound spring, will therefore allow the car to settle on the racetrack. The car will be nice and tight. A stiff spring will keep the car up off the track. The car will be very, very loose. So you hear us talking about going to a soft setup, a soft spring, like a 200 or 300-pound spring, or a hard setup, like a 3,000-pound spring, keeps the car up in the air, and the car will dance around and be loose, but may run faster.
And some teams will tell you that 3,000 pounds on the right front is conservative here at Bristol. Here's what it looks like mounted on the car. Here's the ratchet. Sometimes you're seeing crews open the hood. You think they got engine trouble? No. They're just going in to affect the wedge or the pressure that this spring is putting on this particular corner of the race car. This is a very critical item on the right front here at Bristol, Tennessee. A 3,000-pound plus spring rate on the right front as we go back to green compares to maybe your pleasure car at home. Many of you have the high-performance machines. Their springs are rated at only as many as 250 pounds. So you get an idea of the gravity and the pressure that are involved here at Bristol.
Well, the frown is back on the Dale Earnhardt car because it's in second position. The smile is being worn by the Skoal Bandit, driven by Harry Gant. Jeff Bodine is third. Bill Elliott is in fourth position. And in fifth is Morgan Shepherd. And there is Rick Wilson, our pole sitter, who has been in the pit area for probably almost 150 laps at estimate, but he is back out on the racetrack.
You know, that was interesting looking at the front of that cutaway car, the spring and shock, where the Larry was holding his hand was on the front shock. We used to run dual shocks at each wheel. And since then, Bilstein came along with a gas pressurized shock that really does a good job. We're real happy with that on especially tracks like this that are so bumpy. And since then, Monroe has come up also with a shock that's doing a lot better. All of these cars out here are running single shocks now on each wheel, and most of them are running the Bilstein gas pressurized shock, which it seems to be a big improvement over the old style twin tube shocks.
The number 43 car, Richard Petty, and Mark Martin in car number 6 are right together on the racetrack. Richard has made some pit stops and is 1 lap down, but Mark Martin remains on the lead lap, and he is shown in 6th. And Richard a little bit squirrely coming out of corner number 2, and that allows Terry Labonte to pull alongside. Labonte, of course, many laps down because of a problem early in this race.
But his car has been running good since he came back on the racetrack, Bob, but he's not taking any unnecessary chances. He just takes advantages of the situations that happens around him.
There's a Junior Johnson car, number 11. Behind him is Ricky Rudd, who also remains on the lead lap in 7th position.
One car that we might keep our eye on, Morgan Shepherd now is in that car number 21. Kyle Petty had it up as high as 2nd or 3rd earlier in the race, and then he got sick and had dropped back some. He remained in the lead lap, however, but now Morgan Shepherd's coming on smoke coming from Dale Earnhardt.
Earnhardt is smoking badly down the main straightaway, now down the backstretch. Something is not right with the Dale Earnhardt car, but he stays on the accelerator and hangs right in there in 2nd position, but the black flag is being given to Dale Earnhardt. Earnhardt is going to have to come to the pit area for some consultation and a look-see by the NASCAR officials. There is something obviously wrong with Dale's car. A big plume of smoke now evident from the back end of that car.
That's something you very seldom ever see on that race car. I think he had one engine problem all year long in 1987 as he won his 3rd Winston Cup championship.
Here's Jerry Punch.
Unscheduled pit stop for Dale Earnhardt. They bring in, they will raise the hood and take a look inside. Now, Earnhardt had radioed in and told him he thought maybe there's something, brake fluid may be leaking from the car. Possibly they may have cut a brake line. So Richard Miller just looked at the car and said, cut the car off, we're going to bring it around behind the wall. And apparently that's what the problem is. It's brake fluid. They have cut a brake line. And Earnhardt said, heck, I can't get behind pit wall. I'll make another lap and come back in.
All right, so he does move back out onto the racetrack, but he probably will be coming in to go behind the wall next lap. Pace car was in the way. Dale down the backstretch. His chances of victory here this afternoon also pretty much eliminated. Earnhardt will not win here at Bristol.
It's hard to imagine that being a brake problem because he stopped in his pit so well. I know the brake system on that car, if there was a broken brake line, the whole car would not have any brakes.
Well, apparently he's not coming in behind the wall. At least he didn't on that particular lap.
But he's about to get the black flag once again as Harry Gant moves around and Dale Earnhardt does come in. And we see Rusty Wallace right in front of Harry Gant as Earnhardt comes down pit road. Rusty had made a late pit stop on the last caution flag. We see Earnhardt go behind the wall this time, but Rusty came out very late out of the pits, and now he's about to go a lap down.
Yeah, I saw one of the men he had a fuel pump in his hand, so it looks like they have an oil leak at the fuel pump.
Now here's where we begin to see the problem. There, the puff of smoke entering turn number 3.
I bet you it's a broken fuel pump. I've seen it happen before where the frame runs very close to the fuel pump on these cars. If you hit some of these bumps on the track so hard that the fuel pump can be broken off and still run. Let's go to Jerry down in the pits.
Well, Dale Earnhardt still sitting in the car. Dale, if you can hear me, Dale, what's the problem, Dale? You can hear me. Okay, Dale's sitting in front of the car, and Gary, you're exactly right. They originally said it may be a brake problem, but it's a fuel pump. Gary, you hit it right on the head. A fuel pump vibrated in the car, is cracked, was leaking fuel, causing some smoke in the car, and they are working, as you see here in front of the car. They're up on the car. Kurt Shelburne and the crew trying to get the fuel pump replaced and get Earnhardt back out in the Goodwrench Chevrolet.
Nice call, Gary. That's why we pay you so much in this job, isn't it?
Well, you know, over the years, it's happened to every race team. The fuel pump, right, you know, the suspension and the frame and the engine and everything is so tight in that little area that one hard hit on the right front tire will send that frame just, you know, flex in, hit the fuel pump, crack the aluminum housing. It won't leak fuel, but the oil will come out of the engine and leak through the crack.
So a dejected and rather disappointed Dale Earnhardt is helpless in the pit area after all but one top 10 finish in 1988. There is the leader, Harry Gant from Taylorsville, North Carolina. Second position is Jeff Bodine, and that's how close they are. The 9 and 21 cars are battling for position. That's Bill Elliott in number 9. He's in third position. And right behind him is the number 21 car, now being driven in relief by Morgan Shepherd. So there are your first 4 cars in this race as we are more than 300 laps into this event. There's fourth place, Morgan Shepherd, driving the Wood Brothers car assigned to Kyle Petty. A lot more of excitement ready to go as we near the conclusion of this race. Harry Gant could win here this afternoon.
Ricky Rudd talks about Quaker State with QSX.
If you're like me, you want your engine to perform. You want it to run clean, and you don't want sludge. That's why you and I both need Quaker State with QSX.
QSX keeps dirt particles in suspension, so they're trapped in your oil filter instead of sludging up your engine.
No other oil runs cleaner or fights sludge better. And the Quaker State I use in my car is the same oil you can buy right off the shelf for your car.
Quaker State. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
To fathers about the Kodak Color Watch system.
A true test of dadhood. You've been entrusted with precious rolls of Kodak film. The family is counting on old Dad to get great developing, so you look for the Kodak Color Watch seal. Color Watch means great developing. This seal means every picture is printed on Kodak paper, so your photos will look wonderful, and your son will let you borrow the car. Kodak Color Watch for great developing. You're going to thank me for it.
We know some guys who get up early in the morning just to rock and roll.
Run, run, run.
Racing fans, this buzz for you.
The NHL's Cold War heats up. The battle for the Stanley Cup is underway with the divisional playoffs. The action continues tonight, live on ESPN.
We're glad you could join us for the Valleydale Meets 500 Winston Cup race from Bristol International Raceway. We are 326 laps into this event, and the lead is held by Harry Gant in the number 33 Skoal Bandit. There he is, passing Neil Bonnet, who has not been competitive all afternoon. Second position is Jeff Bodine. Let's get out of the pit area.
Well, take a look at the fuel pump that came off Dale Earnhardt's car. This fuel pump is completely broken and scattered away. I'll try to pick it up. It's very, very hot and turn it over. But you see the opposite side of the fuel pump completely came apart and fuel leaking out of this hole here. That on the header is causing the smoke and all the problem for Dale Earnhardt. He is still here in the pits behind the wall, and they are working to try to get him back on the racetrack and losing a lot of time.
You know, that's a tough thing for the car builders. NASCAR requires that the engine be located with a certain place in the car with the number 1 spark plug lined up with the ball joint. They also require that you run a stock-type fuel pump. You can't relocate the fuel pump on the engine. That means that the suspension pickup point for the right front tire is right near the fuel pump. Any hits will bend the frame into the fuel pump and crack it off. You can see the dent in the fuel pump below it, or about in the middle of it, and then the crack up above where it broke.
So that's the reason that Dale Earnhardt is sitting in the pit area, and the crew is continuing to work on the car. They may get him back out there, but Dale Earnhardt will not win today's race. The guy who could win is Harry Gant. And if he does, it'll be his first win since September of 1985. North Wilkesboro, where we will be next week, was the scene of Harry Gant's last win. Let's go to Larry.
Well, very briefly, for those of you at home, Gary talked about how crowded it is down inside here. The fuel pump is down inside. Follow my finger. I'll snake through the wires and the frame rails. There it is down there. You can see how close it is to this orange frame rail right here. It's actually a little L-shaped area as far as the frame rails go, and how vulnerable that piece is, particularly on a racetrack like Bristol International Raceway.
Yeah, well, that's interesting, Larry. You put your hand down in there. That engine on that car hasn't been run all day. Can you imagine Dale Earnhardt's crew with those temperatures way 300-400 degrees in that area, and they have to reach in there and change that fuel pump? It's not a very good job, but they got to do it to get back in the race.
The unsung heroes of Winston Cup racing. Very often the guys that work on the cars and literally risk their hands and their elbows and everything when they're in there working on a race car. All right, Harry Gant, the leader in car number 33, this Gold Bandit. He is in first position at the moment as we bring you our field summary and catch you up on the cars that are still out there in competition on the racetrack. Harry Gant is the leader. Running behind him is Alan Kulwicki, who has had his problems and been in the pits for several laps.
Yes, he had, of course, hit the wall a little bit earlier, had a lot of repairs to make on his Ford, but he did get it back out into running, pick up some Winston Cup points.
Running in second position behind Alan Kulwicki is Jeff Bodine.
And running in the third position is the car number 9 of Bill Elliott, one of his better short track performances.
Bill Elliott is certainly not out of the running in this one. There's a lot of laps to go, and that Coors Ford has been running strong all race long. Behind him is the number 11 car of Terry Labonte, and Labonte also has suffered some problems in the early stages of the race and is well off the pace.
The next car in order on the track is Rick Wilson, who spent many laps behind pit wall after having an accident also.
He was the pole sitter for this race, but is many laps down. Ken Schrader is in number 25 this afternoon, and Ken is shown 2 laps down at the moment in 10th position. Behind Ken Schrader on the racetrack is Morgan Shepherd.
And he's driving for Kyle Petty in the car number 21, currently running in the 4th position.
Good run for that Wood Brothers Ford. Then comes Mark Martin, who has also had a very good showing today.
He's had a very good showing in the Ford number 6. He's running in 5th position at the moment and moving up a little bit on the car number 21 of Morgan Shepherd.
Now a lap down behind Mark Martin is the number 27 car driven by Rusty Wallace. And Rusty has been on the lead lap for most of the race. However, has now gone down a lap and is shown in 7th. Ricky Rudd is in number 26, and he has been on the lead lap for most of the day, but has run a lap down. And Dave Marcus led earlier.
Yes, he did. He's a couple of laps down now, but let's correct that. Ricky Rudd is still on the lead lap. He's currently running in the 6th position, Bob.
You're absolutely right. So Rudd is on the lead lap. Now, we've already talked about Rick Wilson. Now we focus in on Bobby Allison, who is shown in 8th position, also a lap down. The number 44 car, driven by Sterling Marlin, is shown as 4 laps down in the 12th position.
Sterling had a couple of unscheduled pit stops. We saw a blistered tire that came off of his car a little bit earlier. And the next car in line is Richard Petty, the 7-time Winston Cup champion. He's 1 lap down, now currently shown in 9th position.
The number 75 car of Neil Bonnet has been struggling all afternoon. He is 13th, 5 laps to the rears.
And the next car that Harry Gant will come up to lap would be Benny Parsons in car number 90.
And he is shown as 8 laps down, running in 15th position. And that is the complete lap around, and there once again is the leader, Harry Gant. So those are the cars that are still on the racetrack.
And while we're talking about Benny Parsons about to be lapped again, he's not having a very good run here today. Yesterday, when his pit crew was coming to work about 6:30, coming from the motel to the racetrack, they were rammed in the rear of the van that they were riding in, 6 of them. They took all 6 of them to the hospital. However, all of them have been released from the Bristol hospital. Richard Donlevy, who is the son of Junior Donlevy, who owns the Bullseye Barbecue Sauce number 90 Ford, has been moved to Richmond, Virginia with a back problem. A good battle here as Bill Elliott moves into 2nd place. Boy, he's on the move.
Yeah, he may have just been waiting for the first 3/4 of the race to elapse, and now Bill Elliott is serious about racing. He went around Jeff Bodine like Jeff was tied, and now begins to set his sights on the leader, Harry Gant.
Well, Bill Elliott, over the years, has not had a short track program that has been that strong. He's had some top 5 finishes. He won the pole and set a new track record at North Wilkesboro last year for his first pole ever on a short track. But most people think in terms of Bill Elliott at Daytona and Talladega and Michigan, where on the high-speed racetracks, where they always run so fast. But they've worked hard on their short track program, and it's showing off here today.
And Dale Earnhardt returns to the race.
Yeah, they did a good job changing that fuel pump that quickly. I'm amazed. I bet there's some sore hands down there, some burns that they're going to have to attend to for the crew members.
Well, Earnhardt is back on the pace as he is now passing Ken Schrader and attempting to pass Bobby Allison, but he is many, many laps down. Harry Gant is the leader. There he is, once again passing the slower car of Neil Bonnet. Bill Elliott will be in second position as Larry Nuber reports from Pit Central.
Well, we'll update you as we have all year on ESPN on the Goodyear Hoosier title contest. The leader is Harry Gant on Hoosier tires. Remember that Hoosier tires sat on the pole here today. Other than the pole and the lead, the rest of the story is all Goodyear. Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, all the way down through the top 10. One comment about the race that Ricky Rudd is running, they changed headers last thing this morning. And Gary Nelson, you could talk about this. They were trying to increase the torque of the race car here at Bristol. If you're not really familiar with cars, that may sound strange. How can I change the exhaust pipe and get more torque out of the engine? Well, Gary can talk about that in just a minute, but right now we're going to go over to pit on the backstretch of the pit here and Dick Berggren.
Well, Larry, I'm in the leader's pit right now, and the last time they changed tires was on lap 256. They also took fuel at that time. That's almost exactly 100 laps to go. They can go about 200 laps on a load of fuel, so these guys are definitely going to come back in again and have to take care of it. As far as tire wear is concerned, we have seen a couple of tires of both brands with problems, but by and large, both tire makers have done an excellent job here. Their tires are holding up very, very well.
All right, now let's pick up on this header story, Gary.
Well, what you look for at different racetracks is where you want your power to come in. You can move the power or the torque around to different RPM areas. One of the easiest ways to do it at the racetrack is to change the size of the exhaust, the headers coming out of the head of the engine. There's unlimited combinations of what you can do. Some engine builders build an engine, say, for top-end power for qualifying when you're running near track record speeds, but they always know in the race the speeds slow down as the track gets slick. Then they'll move that power down for that lower RPM by changing the header to a smaller diameter header tube.
Well, there's Harry Gant, who is running right ahead of Rick Wilson now.
Rick's car is running very good now, even though he's been in the pits for a long, long time, but he's back up to speed.
But you know these cars have been out there, like Dick mentioned, or I think it was Jerry mentioned, that the last pit stop was on lap 256, almost 100 laps ago. Now, the one tire we saw that was blistered earlier must have been just a tire that was over-abused. That's what will cause a tire to blister if all the other cars aren't having problems. I can see the lead cars, both Goodyear and Hoosier cars, not having tire problems, but we saw isolated cases. That's where a driver where the car is too loose and he's spinning the tire off the turns, it'll cause it to overheat. Okay, Bob.
361 laps completed. Out of the behind-the-wall area comes Phil Parsons. He's about to return to the racetrack, but here are the top five. Harry Gant is your leader. Running second to the field is Bill Elliott. Third place belongs to Jeff Bodine, followed by Mark Martin and Ricky Rudd.
People are always saying to me, Jacko, relax. But tell me this. If yours really was the longest lasting battery you could buy and nobody knew it, would you be calm? I think not.
To some, it's routine maintenance. To others, it's an act of love. If you truly appreciate fine machinery, you protect it with Purolator filters.
Harry Gant continues to lead the Valleydale Meets 500 from Bristol International Raceway, with the second place car being Bill Elliott, and now there are 5 cars on the lead lap as the number 21 machine, which is being driven in relief by Morgan Shepherd, has gone a lap down just in the last couple of laps. And there it is. There is obviously not as much power to that car as there was a few laps earlier. He's running the lower groove on the racetrack and allowing the faster cars to pass to the outside.
Yeah, I believe something has happened to that car. We thought for a moment, Bob, that maybe Morgan couldn't reach the pedals, but there's something wrong. He's headed to the pits with that car. And let's go to Dick Berggren, who's in those pits.
Well, it's a little tough for this team to tell for sure what's going on. They are using a signboard. And the crew just a moment ago it was the gas pedal, that he in fact cannot push the thing all the way down. They've got it blocked up. Right now it's a tire change. Nobody's fooling with the gas pedal. So if it is the gas pedal, they ought to be addressing that problem, and right now they are not.
Boy, you wonder what it is here. They change the tires. The crew members without a radio, it's so hard to work in the crew, not being able to contact the driver. After a driver change like that, the helmets a lot of times don't interface with the connections in the car, and you lose that communication.
If it was a situation where he simply could not reach the gas pedal, what could they do on an immediate basis?
Not a great deal that they could do, but I don't know. You know, he has run 40 or 50 or 75 laps in that car since he got in there, and I don't think that the gas pedal had moved, or he either one. I believe that he might have had a tire going down, or maybe one to blister.
Yeah.
But he's still off the pace.
You know, I'd be, if I were Leonard Wood, I'd be looking for Buddy Baker.
Well, now Harry Gant goes to the outside and puts another lap on Richard Petty. So Richard goes 2 laps down, remaining in that 9th position.
And notice how Rick Wilson has been able to hang right with Harry Gant. Since Gant came up and lapped him about 15 laps ago, he stayed right with him.
Well, what do you think, guys? Does Harry Gant have it here?
He looks awfully good. He likes this racetrack. He drives it very well. And they made some changes on that car yesterday and again this morning, and they feel awfully good about it, and he looks awfully good out there. But so does Bill Elliott.
Well, the interval between first and second is just about 2.5 seconds as we go to the pit area once again for a report.
Well, as you talk about Harry Gant, his best finish last year was 6th. It came right here in this race at Bristol. Harry Gant did not have a top 5 finish all last year. You know, a lot of teams build special short track cars to run those number of short track races like here in Wilkesboro and Martinsville. Well, Gant, their car hadn't been working well all year, so they went back to the garage area, and they got a car they ran last year. This car they're running today last ran in Michigan. It was a super speedway car a year ago. They said, what the heck, we'll bring it here and see what happens.
Jerry, you mentioned as we look at Kyle Petty getting ready to get back in the car. Morgan Sherman comes out. Harry Gant likes this racetrack. He has twice sat on the pole here. Yesterday in the Busch Grand National race, Harry had it covered. Then he made a miscue. He passed the yellow flag car while under the yellow. He was penalized. He lost a lap. But he has never won a Winston Cup race here at Bristol. To Dick Berggren.
Well, we just had a driver change. Kyle Petty's back in the car. Morgan's out. Morgan, how come you left?
They had taped the block on the accelerator so I could reach it. And it came on, and I just couldn't reach it. The seat was pushing my back. I couldn't hardly breathe.
Well, that's the story. Car 26 in the meantime has just hit the wall.
And he was in the top 5. Ricky Rudd has hit the wall and damaged the right front of that race car, and he is going very slowly down the backstretch with smoke coming from the car. I think it's mostly tire smoke, though, as the right front of the car has been shoved in.
Gant in the pits quick. None of the other leaders now, they're just getting to the front straightaway. Gant's already got his right side tires changed, and the leaders are just getting to their pit area. So we'll see how he comes out. He's got to beat the pace car, though.
Yeah, he's got to hurry because the pace car is already coming off at turn 2. Bill Elliott is in the pits also. Now he's pitting on the front straightaway. And again, waiting patiently there for him to get the service completed so he can get back out. And the pace car is coming up very quickly on him back there. They're going to have to get him down and out, and they do. He's going to make it, but boy, that was close.
Boy, it sure is. He just goes out ahead. Jerry Punch.
Bill Elliott's also trying to beat the pace car out. Elliott, of course, pitting on the front stretch. He goes down and away. Good for a tire change, and Elliott just might get back on the track in front of Harry Gant. Yes, he does. He'll get back in front of both Jeff Bodine and Harry Gant.
So we're going to have a reshuffling of positions here when the green comes out, and Bill Elliott may be in command of this race with Bodine second and Harry Gant in third. So we have got the possibility of a new winner on the Winston Cup Trail for 1988 coming up. The first 3 have not won so far this year.
Not everyone can relax luxuriously at the beach, but you can with fine furniture for your home from Design House Furniture. Come check out fabulous savings on teak, rosewood, leather, lacquer, and upholstered furniture. And while you're there, register to win a fun-filled cruise for 2 through the Caribbean. Airfare included. Furniture and fun from Design House. Stop in today. Sand optional. No purchase necessary.
to drive. The Mazda RX-7 convertible. The RX-7 convertible, only from Mazda Motors, and only at Hawk Mazda Center, Northdale Mabry, Tampa.
We hope you've been enjoying the Valleydale Meets 500 from Bristol International Raceway. It's being brought to you by Pronto, featuring quality auto parts at lower prices. By Olympic Stain, protecting the American dream for over half a century. By Eagle One Premium Car Care Products. And by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality, always has and always will. Well, we've got a little more than 100 laps to go, and when we restart, Harry Gant will be in third. Let's go to the crew chief, Travis Carter.
Well, I'm with Travis Carter. Travis, you guys are running up at the point at the end of a race. You must feel very pleased.
Well, it sure does. It's been a long time since we've been in this position. Regardless of how it comes today, I think we represent ourselves very well. Of course, we're looking forward to the opportunity to win here today, Brett.
How hard are you running the car? Are you running it flat out, Travis?
Well, I really don't know. With Harry, when he gets in a good pace and has a good rhythm going, he runs better if you never say a word to him. Just tell him when to pit. If he wants something changed, he'll tell you. If he doesn't, don't even give him the time of day. Just leave him alone. Let him concentrate on what he's doing. He seems to do much better.
Well, that's a story from Gant's pit. Jerry, what have you got?
Well, take a look at the brake rudder off the right front wheel of Ricky Rudd's car. Now, this thing is so hot, a crewman tried to pick it up, and it literally set his gloves on fire. I put my ink pen here, and it'll just melt the ink pen on top of the brake rotor. This thing came apart and therefore tore the tire. Take a look at the tire off Rudd's car, the right front tire that Rudd cut down and went into the wall here. See what's left of that tire, absolutely torn to pieces. Lucky Rudd will even be able to get out of the car. They're still working on the Bernstein car. They're going to try to get him back out in a few minutes.
What are you going to do for a pin the rest of the year, Jerry? That's your allotment for the year, and that thing's pretty well melted. All right, green flag coming out. On lap 383, Bill Elliott will lead him down. There's a green. We're back to racing. Bodine is second. Harry Gant is third. Mark Martin is fourth. And fifth, the lap down, is Rusty Wallace. Well, we've got a little over 100 laps to go, guys. It's time to choose who you think is going to win this race. We'll go first to Gary Nelson.
Oh, you're going to put me on the spot again, huh?
Sure.
Well, you know, it's been really interesting, but with only 4 cars left in the lead lap, I guess you got to go from with one of those 4. I'll have to say Harry Gant. He's been consistent right from the start. He started back a little ways, but immediately went up to the top 5, and he's been in the top 5 all along. With that back pit, I think they had a bad pit stop that put him behind. He should be able to beat the others out on a good pit stop later in the race and get the lead.
So Gary chooses Harry Gant. Ned?
Well, right now, his car doesn't seem to be working quite as well, but he's got new tires on, he's got Hoosiers on, he's going to take a few laps to get them to going. But I said during one of our commercial breaks back 150 laps ago that I felt that Harry Gant was going to win this race today, and I'm going to stick by that because he really has the rhythm going, and that car's working well, too.
All right, to our pit reporters, Jerry Punch.
Well, I have to agree with Ned on the Harry Gant deal. I talked to Harry before the race, and they really had a vision. They wanted to come here and run well and try to turn their luck around. In fact, they practiced on Friday on the Goodyear tires, and Harry said, we got to do something to change our luck. We'll put Hoosiers on and qualify. They qualified against it. Maybe today's our day. So I'll pick Harry Gant to come on strong here in the last 60 or 75 laps.
All right, Dick Berggren.
Well, I hate to be totally consistent with everybody, but I'm going to stick with Harry Gant, too. He's had a long ride well. For years since he's won a race, he's running extremely well today, but interestingly enough, this team is not yet excited. They are not yet emotional. They are very calm. They are expecting almost a problem to happen. I am not. I think Harry Gant's going to drive into victory lane. Larry?
Well, Dick, I will go against the tide, and I'll tell you why. It's because we are at Bristol, Tennessee. I don't think we have seen the last caution flag. I think there will be a caution flag inside the last 20 or 30 laps of this race, giving all of the Goodyear people an opportunity to come in and get new tires on. We have seen many races won in Winston Cup racing because the lead cars come in and put brand new tires on for the late race rush. Therefore, I don't believe that because new Hoosiers are not as fast as new Goodyears that a Hoosier-shod car will win. I go with Jeff Bodine, a little more short track experience than Bill Elliott.
Well, that's interesting because I've been sitting here for the last few laps thinking that Bill Elliott is going to win, so I'm going to make it Bill Elliott is my pick. So we've got 4 for Harry Gant. Larry picks Jeff Bodine, and I pick Bill Elliott. Elliott is the leader right now with 108 more laps to go. And in second position is the number 5 car of Jeff Bodine. Then Elliott is in, rather, Harry Gant is in third.
Well, that's a tough one, you guys, to pick the winner. I always think that, you know, as a crew chief, you watch the race and your car leads for a long period, and the rookies in the pit area will start saying, well, we got this one in the bag, and then something always seems to happen. So it's really not over till it's over, especially at Bristol, like Larry said.
We'll give you an interval between first and second. Elliott comes off the 4th corner. It's just a little more than a second, and that isn't very much. We will, however, do it again next lap to find out whether or not Elliott is pulling away, or if Jeff Bodine is catching, or if the interval remains the same. Elliott once again off the corner, crossing the line. Now the clock didn't work. We'll do it next time. Bodine, though, doesn't appear to me to be closing in on Elliott. As a matter of fact, I think it may be the opposite. We'll try it now. It's about the same, but there's just a tick of the watch more. Now we'll do an interval between second place Jeff Bodine and third place Harry Gant. Here's Jeff coming off the 4th corner in the Levi Garrett machine. And that's less than a second. 9/10 of a second, as a matter of fact. We'll do it once again.
I think Gant's tires are beginning to come in now because he's moved away from Mark Martin.
Well, yep, he's catching him just a little bit, but nevertheless, he is closing in. A little bit of tire smoke, it looks like, from the back end of the Harry Gant car. There's the leader, Bill Elliott. Behind him is Kyle Petty, who is back in that car after Morgan Shepherd drove it for several laps. 43 and 12 are racing for position, a couple of laps back from the leaders, but nevertheless a race for position. And there is Dale Earnhardt also sticking his nose in the action, but the battle is between the number 12 car of Bobby Allison and the 43 car of Richard Petty. This is the battle for 6th position. Petty has it right now.
Each of those cars are 2 laps down, but here comes Bobby Allison up on the outside. You can see Rusty Wallace and Dale Earnhardt just behind them running side by side.
And Rusty is only 1 lap down in 5th. There's Benny Parsons also in the shot. He is 10 laps down in 14th. 3 abreast racing going through the 1st corner here. And now Rusty Wallace is able to position himself between Bobby Allison and Richard Petty.
Well, a lot of damage on almost every car on the racetrack shows some signs of damage.
Been a rough afternoon for just about everybody. There is no car that has escaped without any body damage in some form or to some degree.
Yeah, it seems to get worse all the time here at Bristol. You know, there's the more cars that are competitive with the sponsors and the drivers and the pressure to get up front, lead laps, and try to win, the more of that fender banging goes on.
Next week, we'll be on a half-mile racetrack, but one that is considerably different from this one. Will be at North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, for Winston Cup activity next Sunday afternoon, and we hope you'll be with us. Larry Newber in Pit Central.
Bob, talking about next Sunday's event in North Wilkesboro, Goodyear has told the teams that they are coming out with a new tire. I don't want to call it revolutionary, but the tire that they have been using to combat Hoosier right now basically is a mold they had sitting on the shelf. They put new compounds. As we look at Rick Wilson sitting in the pits, he's been very fast in recent laps. But this is a Band-Aid. That's what Jeff Bodine explained to me, that the Goodyear tire they're using right now is they knew they had to come up with something immediately to be competitive with the Hoosiers. Jeff says that Goodyear says that next week's tire at North Wilkesboro should really be something special. Just one slight clarification in terms of the Hoosier Goodyear tires as they look here towards the end of the race. Remember that it's not that the Hoosier tires come in, they stay the same. It's that the Goodyear tires are so good when you first bolt them on. So should there be a late yellow flag, see Harry Gant moving in on the Goodyear tire number 5. Should there be a late yellow flag, it's got to be late enough to the race so the Goodyears can get that nice big jump before Harry catches them back up.
Gant has closed within a car length. Now he's got Alan Kowicki in front of him. They pass easily going down the backstretch. And Jerry has a comment on Harry Gant's performance.
Well, I'm standing in the Bill Elliott pit beside Ernie and Dan Elliott. I was just listening to these two guys talking here. You know, Dan Elliott just pointed out to me that possibly Harry Gant may have a problem developing on his car. He said, take a look at Gant's car when he goes by. Look at the left front of the car as Gant goes into turn 1. The car tends to really come up off the tire. So he must have a shock going away or something, because the Gant's car is really bouncing as it goes into turn 1, and I've never seen a car like that. You watch a lot of cars go in, and Gant's car really coming up and down. Maybe Gary Nelson can take a look at that car that's going into the turn. That may be the problem.
Well, that's, you can see on the screen there, that's kind of a poor combination of spring and shock. The shock rebound isn't controlling the left front of the car. Obviously, it's hard to tell about the other three shocks, but the left front of the car, when it hits the bump, the tire should go up into the fender well and travel back down. What you see here is when he hits the bump, the tire pushes the whole body of the car up into the air. Makes it a handful for the driver to drive, but I don't think that would necessarily slow the car down too much. I think I've seen it all race long with Harry Gant.
Well, he can manhandle an automobile, no question about that. He's one of the strongest drivers physically on the circuit. But Dave Marcus is really getting a hard time. Dave has caught him, and Mark Martin has also caught him. You can see Mark, the front of his car, coming into the picture as they move around the Michael Waltrip car that's now being driven by Dale Jarrett. And so we got a 3-car race for third, or for second, and Dave Marcus in the middle of it.
Well, Harry Gant is 48 years of age, and there has to be a psychological element to this story, too. Harry has been struggling so long. As we mentioned, it's been 1985 since he won. Dick Berggren.
Well, it's really tough to talk down here. In fact, Travis Carter and I have communicated this afternoon by writing notes to each other. And I just passed him a note, and it said, do you have a bad shock absorber? Travis never, ever looked off the racetrack. He just looked at me and said, no, shook his head no. We're going to crash on the racetrack.
Now, Dave Marcus bumped Harry Gant and just sent him spinning.
He did. They got together as they started into the third turn, got Gant sideways, and now he has the right front, or the bumper, gone off of the car as he's going to drag it around the track. He's going to try to get back to the start-finish line before the leader did, but don't know if he made it or not. It was awfully close. Kyle Petty did get by Bill Elliott to pick up one of the laps he was down.
Well, it's unfortunate that a driver who is 3 laps down, and although his car is performing well, would take the chance and bump Harry Gant, who was in the thick for the win. Here it is again.
Well, you see, Marcus was down on the inside, Gant running in the middle groove, and they got together, and there goes the front bumper off of Gant's car as Marcus clipped him again as it came around.
Well, just peeled the front end off of Gant's car. Then he had to race the leader to the line for to try and stay in the lead lap. Let's go to Jerry and Elliott's pit.
Bill Elliott getting 2 right side tires. Dan Elliott has already put the right front tire on. The jack man will come whipping around the car. They clean the windshield. It'll be a 4-tire change for Bill Elliott. Elliott looking for his first ever short track win in NASCAR Winston Cup competition. You know, he led the most laps in this race a year ago, but didn't win. He had a good finish. Elliott's 4 tires down and away. A good pit stop for the Coors crew.
Back out onto the racetrack goes Bill Elliott, as Jeff Bodine also has completed work in his pit area, and Harry Gant is coming in for a reconstruction of the front end.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, the whole front end, all the plastic on the front of this car is simply sheared away. There goes the nose of the automobile. Some of the heavier stuff is still here, so they've got something of a bumper. But they've got sheet metal that's going to block the radiator if they don't take that off. Right side tires going on. What a disappointment. This crew really thought today might have been the day the jinx broke. Not so. Gary, what do you think?
Boy, tough break for Harry Gant. You know, Larry said that something always seems to happen to poor Harry Gant. You can see the man there with the pliers. That wire coming out of there is from the brake duct. It's a flexible hose that is wrapped with a spiral wire through it. When they pulled off the bumper, it just stretched out across there. But that aluminum panel underneath the radiator, that'll blow down and drag on the racetrack if they don't do something about it. There's an awful lot of wind that's going to come through there. You know, the front bumper of the car is made of rubber, what they tore away. It's not really a big danger, but it keeps all that wind from going up in the front of the car, so they're going to lose a lot of time trying to repair it. It's a shame.
They just went a lap down, Larry, or Gary, in the pits, and so they're going to continue to work on that front end. They tried to get the jack down on the left side. They put 4 new tires on it, trying to get it back out in front of the pace car, but they could not do it.
Here's another angle on the incident involving Dave Marcus and Harry Gant.
Well, Mark is down on the inside, and he gets the right front of his car right into the left rear quarter panel of Harry Gant, and it sent Gant in a slide. And Dave tried to and did clip him there, hoping that it might straighten him up, but he was not able to straighten him up. Gant slides on down to the inside.
I thought for a moment that Harry was going to be able to save it because the car slid sideways for a long time, and I thought it was going to come back around, but it did not. Harry spins, and he's eliminated from the win here, so it's going to be Bill Elliott, Jeff Bodine, or someone else. Stay with us.
The right parts. Mr. Goodwrench has the right parts for your GM car. Parts that fit. Parts engineered for your car by people who designed your car. Parts for every make and every model of virtually every GM car and light truck on the road today. Mr. Goodwrench can help you keep that great GM feeling with genuine GM parts, because no one knows your GM car better. No one.
When it comes to making great wheels look their best, Eagle One doesn't miss a beat. Eagle One, a complete line of wheel and body care products for those who love cars as much as we do.
Why does the Monte Carlo of NASCAR champion Dale Earnhardt race on Goodyear Eagles exclusively? Because of the Goodyear Eagle contact patch and how it responds to the track. And why does Chevrolet choose Goodyear Eagle street radials for every new Monte Carlo SS? A major reason is the Goodyear Eagle contact patch, where the car ultimately responds to the road. Goodyear Eagles, because there really is a difference.
With 423 laps completed, Bill Elliott in a Ford is the leader. Now, the last time a Ford won here at this racetrack was back in 1971 with David Pearson. Chevy had been the really dominant make of car here at Bristol. It had won 9 out of the last 10 races and 18 out of the last 24. Oldsmobile has won only once at this track. That was with Cale Yarborough in 78. Pontiac has won 3 times, most recent with Rusty Wallace. Let's go to Dick Berggren.
Well, here's Harry Gant. He's just blown behind the wall. Harry, you're out of the car. What's happened? They held you up on pit road.
Well, you know, Dave Marcus run in there several laps down and spun me out. I got around. I was trying to beat Bill back around the flag, and I thought I beat him, but they said I didn't, which is okay. I come in the pits. They go hold me a lap. Well, then they said they're going to make me penalize me 2 laps. They won't tell me why. You know, all I knew, I was supposed to be behind Bill. They tried to hold me 2 laps, and, you know, NASCAR is stupid like that. This going Morgan and Ford going out there running. They make such crazy roads. It's funny, you know. I mean, they won't tell you anything on the radio. They just point the finger at you and tell you it's well parked. If they don't want you to win the race, you're not going to win a race.
Harry Gant, obviously very unhappy.
Now, that's the strongest statement that you'll ever hear Harry Gant make in the public. He is usually a very quiet individual. He doesn't have a great deal to say about anything, but he is obviously upset about the turn of events here this afternoon.
Well, I can see NASCAR's point, trying to hold them 2 laps. They have their rules that they try to incorporate, but poor Harry Gant, you got to feel sorry for him. All this time, all that frustration, so close to a win, and to have that problem. It's understandable for him to be upset.
Yeah, it really is, and he has to watch the rest of the race now from the pit area. So, on the racetrack, it is still Bill Elliott as the leader with Jeff Bodine second. We mentioned going to break, will it be Bill Elliott, Jeff Bodine, or someone else? And certainly a someone else could very easily be Mark Martin, who is right there in third behind Jeff Bodine. And it's been a very strong performance all afternoon by Mark Martin in this Jack Roush prepared Ford.
He has run very strong all afternoon, has stayed in the lead lap, stayed in the top 10 all afternoon, and now has been in the top 5 for the last 150 or 200 laps and inside of the lead.
Well, this is his kind of racetrack because he grew up on these half-mile racetracks running for ASA and some of the other sanctioning bodies. So this could very well be a win for Mark Martin, who originally hails from Batesville, Arkansas, making his home now in the Greensboro area.
Close racing there. You can see Jeff Bodine's hood beginning to vibrate on the left side. It looked like it was going down below the fender. I don't think that would be a problem unless the other side also came loose. It looks like he should be okay. We'll have to keep an eye on it. 70 laps to go now. I think Jeff will be all right. He's really satisfied from Bill Elliott, Mark Martin also.
Neither Bill Elliott or Jeff Bodine has won a Winston Cup race this year. Mark Martin has never won a Winston Cup race. They're the only 3 cars, by the way, on the lead lap. In 4th position, a lap down, is Rusty Wallace, and then comes Bobby Allison, who's 2 laps down. But Martin is right there, knocking on Jeff Bodine's back bumper. Now he seems to drop off the pace just a little bit. Could there be something wrong with Mark's car? The number 21 car easily passed Mark Martin coming out of the second turn there. Maybe Mark just got the car a little bit out of position. And now he goes to the inside of Kyle Petty and passes Kyle back.
I think that was a courtesy move on Kyle's part, that he had seen Mark get in trouble a little bit, and he blew around him, and then he knew that he was racing for position, so he said, hey, let him go back up there and go at it.
Yeah, tough break for that Kyle Petty and the Wood Brother team, that 21 car. You know, they were running so well, and for Kyle to have the problem he had to put in a relief driver. Now Kyle's back in the car, I think, and their car's still running good, but several laps behind.
Moving into 5th position is Richard Petty, and Bobby Allison is back to 6th. So those 2 positions change while we watch the battle up front with Bill Elliott and Jeff Bodine. Darrell Waltrip's battered machine, you also caught a glimpse of there as it's being lapped, but Darrell is still out there in competition. Interval between 1st and 2nd.
Not very much after 436 laps around this track.
Bodine in the Chevy, and Bill Elliott in the Ford, and Mark Martin in the Ford.
Boy, that's something, you know, interval, not very much. That about says it. There's the leader, there's Jeff Bodine 2nd, and there's Mark Martin in 3rd. The 3 cars that are in the lead lap, those 3 are the ones going for the win right now. You got to, you know, with Harry Gant out of it, that was my pick, of course. You know, Bill Elliott's a favorite of mine on the big tracks, but I didn't think he really had the muscle on the short tracks. Jeff Bodine and Mark Martin have shown consistently to run good on the shorter tracks. But here's Bill Elliott in the lead, Jeff Bodine 2nd, and Mark Martin 3rd. It's going to be something.
I have bitten my tongue here for the last few laps trying not to point out the fact that Gary, Ned, Jerry, and Dick all picked Harry Gant to win, and unfortunately Harry was eliminated from the win a few laps ago. So that means that either Larry is going to win with his pick of Bodine, I'm going to win with Bill Elliott as my pick, or nobody's going to win. And look how Mark Martin has caught Jeff Bodine. Mark, as you saw a few laps ago, dropped back, and in fact the number 21 car got between Mark Martin and Jeff Bodine, but now Mark Martin has caught back up with Jeff Bodine and is with within 2 or 3 car lengths.
And that means also that he was gaining on Bill Elliott, because Jeff Bodine has not lost any distance to the leader, Bill Elliott.
All right, Larry in Pit Central.
Well, a couple of comments as we look at Mark Martin right there, who's getting ready to put the pressure on Jeff Bodine. You know, Mark performed very well in the Busch Grand National race yesterday. He had a wheel break. There was a lot of conversation with one of the newer wheels on the trail called the Bassett. It wasn't a wheel problem. Mark came up and told me today, well, we're doing a few things that we probably shouldn't have done. This is the same crew, basically, that worked on that car that works on the Winston Cup car. They must have learned from yesterday, because whatever problems that they created for Mark on the track yesterday, they solved for today. Now, remember at the top of the show, we talked about historically, the winner of the race came from starting in the top 10. Well, let's bring up to date on that. Jeff Bodine, he's got a shot at winning, started 3rd. Mark Martin, he started 5th. Bill Elliott, the leader, and Mr. Jenkins' pick, he started 13th. Don't know if that's an omen or not, but usually, the guy who wins the race from 10th up 1st.
Nobody has ever won this race from further back than 14th. Elliott is going to come close should he win this afternoon. He started in 13th. You know, at one point in this race, Elliott was 17th, the last car on the lead lap, but a caution saved him, and since that time, he has very definitely been in contention. Ken Schrader's car drifts high in quarter number 2, and Elliott goes to the inside, and now he moves to the outside to pass Brett Bodine. Here comes Jeff Bodine past Ken Schrader and also Mark Martin. Bodine and Martin working the slower traffic.
And that's Brett Bodine on the inside there. Mark Martin also going around him.
Rob, let's update the fans on the Harry Gant situation. According to Les Richter, who is the vice president of competition for NASCAR, that as they were coming around to get the caution when Harry Gant spun out, that Bill Elliott did indeed beat Harry back to the start-finish line. I know it was very close. I was trying to watch it, and it was very, very close. But they said that according to their camera, that the number 9 car did beat him back, so that would have put him a lap down. Said they asked Gant to fall back behind him, but he did not. So he came in the pits, and of course they worked on the car, and he refused to go back behind the car number 9, and as a result, they were going to penalize him 2 laps, and as Harry said, he wasn't going to take the penalty, he parked the car.
So that's the explanation of what happened regarding Harry Gant that made him rather disturbed, shall we say, after the incident, which really caused him to spin and actually be eliminated from competition. That was Dave Marcus.
Well, that's one of the rules that NASCAR has really cracked down on this year. We've seen this several times in the previous races this year, where somebody tries to race back to the yellow flag. Did he make it or did he not? The driver always thinks he did make it. NASCAR is the one that makes that call. And if they say that you did not make it and you don't believe them, then you know, like Harry Gant, he stayed in front of the leader and refused to take that lap. Finally, when they did convince him that he didn't make it, he said, okay, I'll go back behind the leader. But NASCAR has put in that penalty. They'll take back the lap that you took plus a 1-lap penalty. So that adds up to 2 laps that you end up losing. Harry Gant didn't agree with it.
On the racetrack, it is still Bill Elliott leading. Second, Jeff Bodine in third. Mark Martin. Positions have not changed for several laps, but it remains a very close race.
There are less than 50 laps, of course, remaining in this race, and they will be able to go the rest of the way as far as pit stops are concerned. At least as far as fuel is concerned, they will not have to stop again unless there is a caution.
You got to wonder what's going through their minds right now. You know, Bill Elliott's the leader. He's been trying forever to win on a short track and having all kinds of problems. Now his car looks very smooth. Jeff Bodine's holding the same, just about the same interval, and there's Mark Martin. It looks almost like they're waiting for the last 20 or 30 laps, but I have a hard time believing that. I think they're all running as fast as they can run right now.
And Martin once again drops off the pace just momentarily, as now 2 cars are positioned between second and third. Well, earlier in the weekend, Ned had a chance to talk to Mark Martin and get his thoughts on what it would be like. Well, we'll get to that a little bit later, but we have Phil Parsons, who has made contact with the wall coming out of corner number 2, and no yellow flag at the moment as Parsons' car is still running, although it's very slowly. Will it bring out a caution? He pulls to the apron of the racetrack, the car moving very slowly, but apparently no caution flag.
Well, he hit the wall pretty hard. That right front is pushed in a lot. Here's an example of what we call toe out. The wheels don't agree on where they want to go. The right front wheel wants to go to the right, left one to the left. That's an exaggerated example of a lot of toe out in the front wheels.
So Parsons comes in to have the car checked over, and we'll pick up on this Mark Martin story. He has never won a Winston Cup race. And so earlier in the weekend, Ned Jarrett had an opportunity to talk with him and ask him what he thinks it would be like to get that first victory.
Ned, I want this really bad. I'm hungry. I don't think anybody here wants this any worse than I do, and the whole team feels that way, and we're united in the feeling, and right down to Jack Roush and everybody, and I think that's what's going to make this team really do well this year.
And Steve Meal, who is the crew chief on this number 6 car, has been named as mechanic of the race. And Gary, that's a rather prestigious award. It really is.
Yes, I have to congratulate Steve. He's worked so hard to build this team. He virtually started with nothing, and Jack Roush hired him to put together this race team. He's done an excellent job. I know all the people on the team. They're all good guys. They work hard. They work together as a team, like Mark Martin was talking. And here we go. Here's Dick Bergeron with Steve Meal.
Steve, it's been a pretty short road to run this far, but you've got 2 more cars to beat. How are you going to run the rest?
Well, it's taken us this long to get the car loosened up to run fast. And to be honest with you, there's been a bunch of good race cars following the race, and we kind of wound up third. But this old crowd here has worked awful hard. We're going to give it all we can, but right now we're really not right enough to win, but we're real pleased to be where we're at.
And they deserve to be. This team is brand new in 1988. New teams are not supposed to do as well as these guys are doing.
But you kind of had a feeling when Jack Roush announced that he would enter Winston Cup racing that the team would do well as quickly as possible, because Roush doesn't do anything that's second-hand, so to speak. There is about a 1.5 second difference between second place Jeff Bodine and third place Mark Martin. There is the interval between first and second. Now, Larry picked Jeff Bodine to win, and I picked Elliott to win earlier. I guess I'll give you guys, at least in the booth here, another opportunity. First of all, can Mark Martin, who's in third, pull off the win?
Well, I think he can, but I've been a little surprised, Dick, at the 2 times that we have seen him drop back, and then he's able to pick back up. It seems like the car is running very well, but what causes those little slowdown periods, I don't know. And he can't have many of those. He would have no shot at winning, that's for sure.
What do you think, Gary?
Well, last time I took the leader, Gary, again, because he's been leading for such a long stretch. Now here we got Bill Elliott leading for a long stretch, and not a lot of laps left in the race. Jeff Bodine, his car is owned by my boss, Rick Hendrick. I really feel that Jeff Bodine deserves a win, as hard as he's been trying the last couple of years. I'm gonna go with Jeff Bodine. I'll take Jeff.
Ned, what do you think?
I'm going to get on your bandwagon now and go with Bill Elliott. It's awful easy to pick the guy out front, but I'll tell you, his car is looking awfully smooth right now. And Kyle Petty just blew around Jeff Bodine with no problem whatsoever on the outside. So I don't know if Jeff has slowed down or maybe just cooling his tires to the last 30 laps of this race.
Top 5 at this point. The leader is Bill Elliott in car number 9. Running in second position is Jeff Bodine. Mark Martin is in third. A lap down in fourth is Rusty Wallace, and then Bobby Allison.
It's every cowboy's worst nightmare. And when the worst is over, you head for the beer that goes down smooth as a mountain stream. Bush.
Does anybody want to start the campfire?
Head for the mountains of Bush beer.
How many times have you thought you'd shoot better with a quality stick? Now you too can shoot your best with the Eliminator, the quality stick you've been waiting for. To shoot like this, you've got to shoot like a pro. And to shoot like a pro, you've got to shoot with the best. Like champions Larry Lascotti and Jimmy Fusco. They know the difference a quality stick can make. With the Eliminator, you'll shoot straight, shoot with more control, because the Eliminator is solid maple, a precision tool approved by the WCBA. The Eliminator won't ever let you down, and it's available now for only $39.95, strictly a TV offer. Get the best, get the Eliminator. But hurry, these won't last. Call now, 1-800-272-QS, or send $39.95 plus $5 shipping and handling to The Eliminator, P.O. Box 12393-E, Aspen, Colorado 81612. Major credit cards accepted. Order The Eliminator now. 1-800-272-QS. That's 1-800-272-QS.
Still no word. Recently, 10 best-selling latex paints were brought together in an independent test to take the guesswork out of finding a quality flat wall paint.
Hot, huh?
Each was tested on the toughest quality measurement of all, scrub resistance. The winner?
Glidden Spread Satin. Thank you very much.
Glidden Spread Satin. It outscrubbed them all, and it's on sale now.
Doc, who came in second? Does it really matter?
Glidden. Your paint should be this good.
Welcome back to Bristol International Raceway, where we are 477 laps into this 500-lap race. The leader is Bill Elliott. Second, this car right here, Jeff Bodine. And third, the only other car on the lead lap is Mark Martin. Well, let's go to the pit area for a conversation with Ernie Elliott.
Well, I guess the Coors pit's going to be pretty happy right now. Ernie, everyone that's led here seems to have some kind of problem. You guys got to be holding your breath these final few laps.
You always hold your breath at Bristol. You just never know about this place. This is the best we've ever run on a short track, so I just hope it stays together at the end of the race.
We talked about Bill's shoulder at Darlington. That's that violent crash in Atlanta. Has he complained at all about his shoulder hurting?
He's not said anything about it, no.
Well, they're holding their breath here in the Coors pit, possibly cruising to his first ever short track win for Bill Elliott.
That is something we haven't talked about, the fact that Elliott did receive a shoulder injury at Atlanta, and it would appear as if there's any track on the circuit that would give him a problem 500 laps long, it would be here at Bristol, but he's showing no evidence whatsoever of fatigue. And let's go to the pit area and have conversation with Waddell Wilson. Nick Berger is with him.
Waddell, you're running in second position, and you've got this stuff to beat the number 9 Elliott.
Well, right now, Jim's running as hard as he can. But Bill is running mighty hard, and, you know, he wants to win just as bad as we do. But, you know, we'll give it all we got. Hopefully we can.
This thing's winding down, guys. We're getting close.
And we're also getting close to a possible change of leadership as Jeff Bodine has decided that he is ready to challenge for the lead with now 17 laps to go. He is right on the back bumper of Bill Elliott as they come down the straightaway. Bodine looks as if he is ready to make the move at any time. He follows Bill high in the groove. Now he pulls along, or rather tries to get alongside coming down the backstretch. Elliott holds him off, though, but Bodine appears to be ready to challenge for the lead.
Elliott's car seems to be getting loose in the turns. That's the way it appears to me as he hits the end of the turns. But he managed to hold on to the lead, but Bodine is certainly bearing down on him.
Boy, Jeff just caught him up maybe a 2 seconds interval up in just 3 or 4 laps. It makes you wonder if something happened either to Elliott's car or Waddell really started cheering Jeff on and got his adrenaline going, telling him that he can do it. That could have happened.
Well, cheering a driver on in the late stages of the race is very important, no question about it, especially a race of this sort, Gary, when you've been out there for several hours running your heart out, and as we said at the top of the show, there'd be some tongues hanging out. At the end of this race, we've already seen a couple of the young drivers that had to have some relief, and now these veterans going at it here in the late stages, they got to be getting tired as well.
The only driver on the lead lap besides these two, Mark Martin, he has fallen well off the pace, and we speculated during the break that Mark just simply may be tired.
That's the way he looks on the racetrack to me. He runs awfully strong for a little bit, and then he slows down for a little bit, and that is sort of the mark of a driver who is getting tired. That car has run well all day long, but he has dropped off the pace now.
Well, you're right about that, Ned. You know, there's what, 11 laps left to go in the race. The 3 cars in the lead lap, those 3 crew chiefs need to be talking to their drivers every lap. Okay, you can do it. Come on. Give them that encouragement to go to the finish. That's really the crew chief's job has changed from a strategist and a coach in the pits to now he's almost a cheerleader, trying to get that driver confidence up, trying to encourage him to get up front, or if he's in front, to stay up front.
And that's the subject we talked about, of course, during the opening of our Darlington race a couple of weekends ago, and it's exactly the same here 2 weeks later at Bristol. Here's Larry.
Just a real comment from Banjo Grimm in Mark Martin's pit. He says that Mark has radioed in that the car is running loose. Dick, you got a further comment about that?
Yeah, I do. I certainly do.
Oh, and Elliott is spinning.
Leaders are crashing.
Jeff Bodine gave Bill a nudge, and the caution comes out. Well, you kind of figured it was going to happen.
Boy.
Well, he went all the way around to Bill did. I don't think there's that much damage done to the car. He made a complete 360. Might have brushed the wall a little bit, but he came on around, so he's still going to be in it.
I don't think he was hurt. Here's a replay.
Okay, as they go into the turn, Bodine hits the left rear quarter panel, as we saw Marcus do a little bit earlier on Harry Gant, and Bill makes the 360, almost grips the wall, but comes on around.
And from another angle. Right there is the contact.
Didn't take much because it looked like, as we said earlier, that Bill's car was getting a little bit loose anyway, and when you start into the turns here at Bristol, you're on the verge of being out of control anyway, and if somebody taps you just a little bit, well,
boy,
you can see what happens.
Tough decision for Jeff Bodine. He needs to stay out. Elliott needs to pit, and Mark Martin needs to pit. Get 4 new tires. Jeff is the leader. He's going to have to restart with about 5 laps to go with hot tires. Elliott has nothing to lose. Might as well get 4 new tires and go for it. Same with Mark Martin. This is a race in the pits right now between Mark Martin and Bill Elliott, and it could be a position for the win.
Now, Gary, they'll be able, on the restart, as a result of the double file restart, they'll be able to go right up behind Jeff Bodine?
Yes. The lead lap cars will start 1, 2, and 3 in the order that they come out of the pits, right behind Jeff Bodine for the restart. Now,
Bill Elliott won the race out of the pits as far as he and Mark Martin is concerned, so Bill Elliott is in second place.
Right. Jeff Bodine had the toughest, or Waddell Wilson, the toughest decision. Do I come in the pits and get tires, then somebody will stay out, and then they'll inherit the lead and win the race if I don't pass them. He is the leader now. Bill Elliott right on his bumper with 4 new tires. And let me remind you, Bill Elliott's not real fond of Jeff Bodine at the moment.
No, I'm sure there's a little animosity.
That's hard to say, 4 new tires and a little fire in his eye.
Well, the signal is being given. 1 more lap to go. Now, this will complete lap 495. We'll go back to green on lap 496, so there will be 4 laps of green racing to the end of this race, and the trophy that they are going for is right here. That will be what the winner takes home after this afternoon's Valleydale Meets 500. So Jeff Bodine will be ahead of Bill Elliott and Mark Martin on the restart, and that will come in about 3/4 of a lap.
Well, they have a fellow down on the inside that is very courteous and will give them the racing room they need, and that's Kyle Petty. He's the car that's the first in line down on the inside, and Kyle has already demonstrated several times here this afternoon that he'll get out of the way of the leaders and let them run for their position. So I don't think that the traffic will be a problem for any of them. Bobby Allison is the next car behind Kyle Petty, so I think that they will give them the running room that they need.
Bill Elliott on 4 new tires. Don't forget here. We'll see how it happens, or what happens when the green drops.
Nobody's sitting down in the whole place. Well, it's going to be a heck of a run down here for the last few laps.
It's a shootout.
Definitely.
Bodine picks up the pace. Here we go. A drag race to turn number 1. Bodine is going to win it. But remember, Elliott has 4 new tires on the car, and so does Mark Martin. 496 complete. They come down and complete 497. 3 more laps to go. Can Bill Elliott pull off the win? He draws alongside Jeff Bodine going into turn number 1. Bodine holds him off. It's going to be a side-by-side battle, though. They're side-by-side, door handle to door handle down the back stretch. That's Elliott to the inside and Bodine to the outside. They're still side-by-side coming off the corner. Bodine is sideways. Elliott has it. 498 laps completed. 2 more laps to go. Bill Elliott is in command of the race, and Mark Martin goes to second, dropping Jeff Bodine back to third. Bodine would like to have second, though, as he continues to battle alongside of Mark Martin.
The new tires did it, no question about it. The white flag comes out for Bill Elliott with 4 new tires. Those 2 cars were able to stick better on the inside of the racetrack.
Not only will this be a spin and win, but it'll be a spin with less than 2 laps, whether less than 10 laps to go, and a Bill Elliott victory. Here's the checkered flag. Bill Elliott wins. Mark Martin is second, and Jeff Bodine is third.
Boy, tough decision for Waddell Wilson. I feel sorry for him. You know, Monday morning quarterbacks will always say he should have stopped and got those tires, but that's the crew chief's decision, and I think I would have gone with Waddell. I support him. I was awful surprised that Elliott was able to get around him.
Well, there were not that many laps to go, but as we pointed out so many times, new tires, cool tires, just simply get you around the racetrack faster, and he had enough laps to do it. And as a result, Bill Elliott getting in the victory lane first time this year. Here's the replay of the spin as Jeff Bodine tried to make a pass. He got into Elliott's left rear quarter panel just a little bit, spin him around 360 degrees.
And then when we went back to racing, here is how Bill Elliott got the lead back and eventually the win.
Yeah, clean pass by Bill Elliott. Jeff Bodine doing all he can. Those tires just wouldn't grip like Elliott's.
Let's go down to Dick Berggren, who's with Ernie Elliott.
Well, they can't say anymore the Elliots can't win on a short track. Tell us about the decision to change tires, Ernie.
Well, we had no choice. You know, there was only 3 cars in the lead lap, and, you know, Jeff didn't hit, which I think is a big mistake. You know, anytime in that situation, you're not going to beat a car here without having new tires.
Did you see the spin?
No, I understand Jeff hit him pretty hard.
Are you happy?
I'm just glad to beat him. That's all I'm thankful for, and thank the good Lord for a good, safe race.
That's Ernie Elliott. He's crew chief. He also does the motors on this automobile, and he is on his way to victory lane.
So it's Bill Elliott's first win since Atlanta in November of last year. And it is his, his 24th Winston Cup win, and it comes in his 238th start. So Elliott is climbing out of the car in victory lane and receiving the congratulations of everyone. He's actually at the fuel pumps. He hasn't made his way to victory lane as yet. So Elliott is out of the car at the fuel pumps as the car is being checked over.
Got to be a very happy individual right now, and a great feeling of accomplishment, too. His first short track victory ever. That's sort of a stigma, I think, that had been attached to Bill over the years that he didn't want, because he has proven that he's a good short track driver, but it took him a while to get their program together. When I talk about their program, the car, getting it where it would work well, 400 or 500 laps.
What a confidence builder for Bill Elliott. I bet we see a lot more big things out of Bill Elliott on the shorter tracks from here on.
Let's go to Jerry Punch.
An exhausted but ecstatic Bill Elliott. Bill, congratulations on a tremendous run. What those last 4 laps were unbelievable.
I'll tell you what, Jeff hit me down there. I gave him all the racetrack I could, and I knew the car would run good on the high side. The man spin you out. And I knew I was going to tear that wall down, and I was lucky just it didn't hit it no harder than it did. It just barely touched it when it came around with the left side.
Well, you knew Ernie said you had to come in and get 4 tires. No doubt about that. And do you think with 4 tires, do you have any doubt that you could get by Bodine?
I didn't have any doubt at all. I was going to get by him one way or the other.
Got to feel pretty good. You guys have been working so long and hard. The first ever career Winston Cup short track win.
I'll tell you what, it feels good. I guarantee you that.
Bill Elliott, awesome Bill, is again awesome in 1988. Picks up his first ever win. 5th winner in 6 events here on the 88 Tour.
Our Winner's Circle interview has been brought to you by Goodyear Eagle Tires. Goodyear, because there really is a difference. A local newspaper quoted Bill Elliott earlier in the weekend as saying, "It's just not fun anymore. I just can't go home and race and go home and come back and race." But maybe he has a different frame of mind now. Bill Elliott has won the Valleydale Meets 500.